All right, we're going to call to order the regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, February the 8th of 2022. If you would, please silence your cell phones, and City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Colodi.
Present.
Commissioner Sacks.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, first up we have, actually before we do our invocation and pledge, I just want to acknowledge the City of New Smyrna Beach lost a great community member and friend of the city, not this past Sunday, but the one before, previous Mayor Vandegrift. And our hearts and thoughts are certainly with the family during this time, and they're not planning any type of service at the time, and the city's honoring those wishes, but certainly we're remembering him and that family, and ask you all to join us in that time as they do that. He served the city for over 21 something years, various advisory boards, city commissioner, eventually as mayor, and just did a lot of good things. A lot of his fingerprints are through the city, so we're remembering him and his family tonight. With that, though, we'll stand and have an invocation. Police Department Chaplain Turner will give the invocation and remain standing for the pledge after that.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to be here one more time together in this year, 2022. And Lord, our hearts are heavy because we lost one of our loved ones that have served this city for so many years. So we ask for extra comfort for that family. And we thank you, Father, for allowing us to get together and come together as a family to make decisions for this great city of New Smyrna Beach. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Thank you, Chaplain. City Manager, any changes to the agenda tonight?
Yes, sir. Two items. Item 7B, and that's review the current Joe Biden Sea license agreement that will continue to March 8th. The second item is item 8A, and that's ordinance number 52-21. Conduct the second reading of an ordinance which adopted would amend the interlocal service boundary agreement between the City of New Smyrna Beach and Volusia County.
I assume 7B is fine, but I assume 8A, we probably need a motion to date certain, right?
I'll need to read it and then we'll continue it
so
when we get
to it.
there. But if anyone's here, they can.
Okay, and I may make a few comments, so if you happen to be here for item 8A, it might be worth sticking around for, but otherwise, if you're here for item 7B, that item has been continued. All other items are as scheduled. Next up is public participation. Let me give you a brief overview of how this is going to work tonight. So we have 3 minutes. Each speaker gets 3 minutes. It's first come, first serve. We ask you to be respectful of all the other folks that are here that may want to speak. Try to stick to the 3 minutes. There's a timer right there on the thing. Just give your name and address if you want to speak to the commission. If you're here for items that are under second reading and public hearing, so that would be items 8B, 8C, 8D, any of those items, you can speak to those at that time. Those are public hearings, so you can wait and just speak to those as those items come up. We have a part in there where we'll call for public hearing. But if you're here for any other items on the commission, or on the agenda, or not on the agenda, the consent agenda, new items or business, or any of the other things, the appointments, boards, etc., you would speak to those at this time. So again, consent agenda, those items, and everything else that you would want to speak to, you do that now. If you're here for something under public hearing, which I think is like the Saxon Road, the hospital, and a couple others, mostly the Saxon Road, the Hawkeye, Camp PUD, those you have a chance to speak to at that time. Hopefully that all makes sense. And so we'll call for public participation. So this is your chance to address the commission. with any item you would like to cover. And this is your time. We don't respond. We're not,
I'm Jay
go
McGrain.
back and
I
forth.
live in 2114 Pine Tree.
Okay.
And I'm here to express my disapproval of the way you treated that man. And you know the man I'm talking about, standing on the street corner with a sign. And two of your thugs go out there and harass him. He's doing his God-given right, his constitutional right. And you send two of your thugs. And one of your thugs didn't even have the knowledge, ability to seek the answer. What he was doing and what he got hassled for was not even against the law. Did you know that? He didn't even have the wherewithal to Google, can you panhandle here? Which he wasn't even panhandling. And he didn't even hassle those two girls in there. If your cops would have taken the 5 minutes to investigate, but they don't investigate. One of them was buddies to that barmaid or bartender in here. He spoke to him by first name. And that police chief, he doesn't have enough testicle fortitude to control his guys. He needs to be getting rid of. Let me tell you something. This town is a good old boy place, man. It's who you know, and you know the rest. And that sucks. That man wasn't doing anything wrong. And for them to treat him like crap, you guys don't deserve to be here. If you believe that what he did, and wait, they got a letter put in his file. You wipe your ass with that letter is what happens. You know what I'm saying? And the other one, who don't want a day off? Who in here doesn't want a day off? Everybody want a day off? That's where how you punish the cops here. You do something wrong, you break somebody's constitutional rights, and that man gives them a day off. He probably went fishing. I hope he sues the living shit out of this little town. Well, you can have the rest of my time.
Thank-
And thanks for giving me an email back. Shows how much you care.
Thank you, sir. Any others for public participation? Yes, sir. Come right in.
How are you doing?
Yes,
My
sir.
name is
Good. How you
Paul
doing?
Eberle. I live in New Smyrna. In the hometown news, I did read something about changes in Hawkeye Land. That's on the agenda tonight, near Saxon.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that on the south side of Publix or is it on the west side of Publix?
It's on the,
South.
yeah, south side.
Oh, because my concern is, and also for the future, because on the west side they're building more houses, and I would like to know in the future if they're going to build more houses on the west side of Saxon Boulevard, and between Cedar Dunes and 7th Avenue or 8th Avenue. Can you give me information about that, or?
So we'll hear that item later, and when we get to that in the agenda, and at that time, we'll ask the developer to go over those plans. We'll include that and make sure we highlight that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can come back at that time?
You can speak at that time, yeah, you'll be able to speak at that time to it if you
I'll
haven't
do
got
it
your
at
question
that time.
answered by then, yes, sir. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any others for public participation? Come right ahead. All right, seeing none, we will close public participation. I know most of you. If you have any questions on what the gentleman spoke about, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Shoot me an email. I do reply to 99% of them, as do I think most of my colleagues. All right, so with that, when we pass public participation, we have the consent agenda. Gentlemen, 14 items. Does anyone want to pull anything? Remember, if you just have a quick comment, want to clarify something, do that. You don't have to pull it. Mainly pull it if you want to have broader discussion or possibly just cast a dissenting vote on that item. So with that, Vice Mayor, anything to pull?
Nothing,
Or
Mayor.
any comments? Commissioner Hartman?
6F.
6F we're pulling?
Yep.
Okay, 6F is pulled for Hartman. Commissioner Colodi?
Nothing.
Okay, Commissioner Sacks?
Nothing for me, sir.
Okay, I just had a quick comment on item 6K. I had a citizen and this tells you the level of engagement we have, had a citizen that noticed that the special event application included in the agenda package hadn't been signed off on by the fire department. Just wanted to make sure that that all had taken place, and I did verify with staff. It had. It was just a little bit of a timing thing with the one that got uploaded, so that has been signed off, so I'm comfortable with that item. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding item 6F?
So move.
Second.
City Clerk?
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hartman?
All right, on 6K, it has to deal with replacing the handicap walkover at 27th Street Park.
6F, yeah.
It's designated as an emergency purchase, and it's going to come out of reserve funds. When you look at the pictures of this, it looks like the ramp itself has been in some sort of disrepair for quite some time. So I'm not sure why it's an emergency now, other than maybe it's damaged even more. We do have several other ramps that have ADA access from some of the other parks. So I'm not so sure that this is truly an emergency that shouldn't be a budgeted item come the next budget cycle. We're getting into the storm season. We're not sure, what else is going to happen. So I would hope that we could delay this until the regular budget season and have it in the budget process going forward.
Okay. I'll let you respond. I have another question, though. Let me just include. I forgot to ask you earlier. I'm sorry. I had a resident ask me, and I didn't have a real good answer for him off the top of my head, help us understand why this is city expense versus county expense, if you would also. Is it why this is our responsibility versus the county, or is there some shared? So if you can speak to that.
Mayor, the 27th Avenue Park was given back to the city in 2013. The county built it, paid for it, had maintenance on it until 2013. In 2013, it was reverted back to the city. The handicap ramp it's the city's responsibility. It was damaged from the recent storm.
So the ramp's not considered part of the beach. The
Yes.
ramp's considered part of the park.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
part of the park, not part of the. Now the county is doing the actual beach ramp itself. They're doing the work on it, but this park is heavily used by citizens, specifically handicapped people. So. The staff recommendation is to move forward and get the repair on it so we could fix it.
Okay. We have design engineering. It's a whole long thing. Is there any chance that part of that would be later? I know part of it would be later, but I guess we just started the budget year, so it'll all be within this budget year.
Yeah, there is no budget for it at all at this
But I'm
time.
saying the timing, it would all happen within this budget year.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Commissioner Colodi, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, I was just curious, is this construction that we're proposing to do, will it be going on coincident with the beach ramp replacement?
That's what we're hoping for.
Is that a good idea?
Well, I mean, we need to have something that it's for the handicap. So right now, it's unusable.
I share the same concerns that Commissioner Hartman has. We should have planned on this. If it's truly troublesome, then we should have known and we should have planned on it. I know I've gone past a number of the ramps on the north end of the beach, and they're not usable for handicap because of the changing sand levels and everything else. I'd prefer that the two projects be done separately and that it be budgeted.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I would rather we do not wait. Currently, they are working on the automobile ramp. We have stairs that go up adjacent to them. It is a dangerous work site. I am a real proponent of handicap ramps. I feel we do not have enough of them. So I would like to see us do this handicap ramp there post haste.
Yeah. Okay.
Mayor, motion to approve 6F.
Yeah, all right. Motion to approve 6F. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, if no other discussion, city clerk, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clodine?
No.
Commissioner Hartman?
No.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes,
Thank you.
I concur with you. I'd like to see it get done. As we're doing another project, doesn't make sense, I don't think, so. All right, item 7A. We have a report from David and Rob.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. For this item, what we have is, we were asked to go back to the Special Event Committee as a whole and discuss kind of going forward what we want to see out of the Special Event Committee, especially as it comes to the alcohol consumption aspect of it. And one of the things that the whole committee came up with as a whole was, we don't want to have a standard plan per se. We want to be able to let the committee and let the police department, let the fire department, let the building department, from event to event, it kind of has to be tailored to that specific event. So we don't want to have a standard MOU in place just for open consumption of alcohol. What we're proposing is adding on the Special Event Committee application, putting on there another box on page 4, 9.7. There's already right below the 9.6. There'd be a box there whether it's going to be an open consumption event or not an open consumption event. And from there, it would take it into a whole nother realm of checks and balances that we would need to put in place to, how that event is going to be kind of worked around. The very minimum that we would tell any applicant is that if you're going to have an open consumption event, then we are going to have a full street closure, and extra officers are going to be on site. And that would be something that we can say to any event applicant who wants to have a special event. And at the end of the day, that entire event's going to come before you for approval for the street closure and the extra officers and whatnot. And you'll see the whole safety plan and alcohol plan if it's approved through the Special Event Committee. One of the other things that we wanted to do is we want to add software to make it easier for the special event applicant. We want to be able to put it online, and they can fill it out online, and then all the departments that need to see that special event can then either approve, add questions online, and if it's an event that's necessary to bring the entire committee together with the applicant, then we can have that meeting with the applicant on certain applications. A lot of the applications that we see on a consistent basis, they're rather standard events that through an online system that doesn't take up much of the applicant's time, doesn't take up as much staff time having to leave the office and go to a specific meeting and sit there for, an hour, hour and a half while we're going through all the different applications. They can take their time in their office to kind of go through everything with the software that we can put in place for that. Those are some of the updates we were proposing, Rob and I, and we're here to answer any questions if you have any.
I'm going to come to everyone. I was just going to say, this is what we do now. It's a paper form, routed, we may have pigeons involved, I don't know, but it couldn't be much further back. So whatever the decision is related to these changes, I think that change is a positive one that, either if it's in the budget or let's get it in a future budget, but completely, I think you get support on modernizing, making it easier on you all and on our applicants, streamlining that process, getting a workflow, a routing system. Even like what we just had with the one I called out, 6F, the signature, like that kind of stuff can all be solved with a really, really simple software. So, gentlemen, I think on this, we're here. I think what we're going to need to give staff and the community, really, the people that apply, is at some point, it's not worth adding a box if if there's no support. I mean, if it's a 1-4 or a 5-0 against, then we need to telegraph that position. We've cleaned this up. We started this process cleaning it up to where that now would come to this commission. So we know it can't happen without our approval. But I think we owe it to the community, to staff, to at this point kind of telegraph our position and say this is where we stand. If everyone's not ready to do that tonight, then, but that's where we got to get to. I don't want to keep spinning wheels and adding boxes if there's no point in checking a box. You know, that's a disservice to you all and to our applicants. So that's where I would love to kind of drive this conversation tonight. And then if we walk out and there's, you know, not enough support, then maybe we put the box, but just put a note that says, you know, good luck. I don't know. Rarely going to happen. I don't know what we put, but so all right. So with that, we'll kick off the conversation. I saw Colodi's hand.
Question. Open carry, open consumption, define it for me.
Well, that's going to be, the open consumption would essentially be anything that doesn't have a beer garden.
Okay, well, I'll give you my opinion now. I do not want to see people walking up and down the street with open containers. It's not just Canal Street, but it's Flagler. They seem to survive their wine walk very well. I see people walking up and down the street with their wine glasses upside down, and they're doing fine going from place to place. It's controllable, and it has not proven to be a problem over all these years. Having a open container thing, I think could be counterproductive. Taking any number of people in my neighborhood who love golf carts also love golf carts with coolers. And they will be driving over there and having a really good time. You do not have a confined parking area, so you have people parking in residential neighborhoods, walking back and forth from their cars, whether they're bringing the liquor with them or not. They're passing through areas where we don't want to disturb the people who live there. And as a person who does occasionally drink and go to events, I know sometime when you go to a place that doesn't have a lot of bathrooms, not a lot of porta-johns, that getting back to your car in the residential area is a problem. So personally, nothing against a alcohol corral. I've seen them in small events, big events, county fairs, and they work very well. I don't want to see it in New Smyrna. So even if we put it on the list, it'll be a no from me. That's it.
Well, I should chime in since I'm kind of stuck here because we allow or may consider allowing walking down the street with a beverage, alcoholic. And yet we can arrest people for having an open container. So it doesn't seem congruous, it doesn't seem even. And I know you guys are working hard to make something good happen. I don't mind the corral or a cordoned off area, beer garden as such, but I just can't support an open carry of liquor, Flagler Canal, anywhere. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay. Go ahead.
So my biggest concern with this is what happens, excuse me, with Flagler. I can see how this can work, or at least in theory could work, on Canal Street. My concern is it opens up the door for other parts of the city. How do we tell one street no and another one yes? So I'm not a hard yes and a hard no. I would like to address some of where a trial run to see how this works. I don't want to act like the sky is falling if we do it, but if we get into it and there's problems, I want to be able to reel it in. And I will say that while I'm willing to try it on Canal Street, I don't think it's a good fit for Flagler. So I can say that if this becomes a problem where one street has it and another street doesn't, then I'll lean towards saying that we just don't have it at all. Because just because it's good for one area doesn't mean it's good for another area. We get a much younger crowd on Flagler. The bars are, you get to a point where some of the restaurants are more bars and you have just bars. They're open late. You cannot have that environment having open containers on the street. I think it would be crazy, ridiculous, and it would be a big mistake. The demographic that I believe Canal Street is trying to reach, I think would be different. But what happens when or if these kinds of bars open up later, I think we have a problem that will develop there if that's the way that street grows. So I'm trying to be as direct as possible on this. It may not seem fair. Sometimes in life things just aren't fair. Things are different. I think the two streets are very different. I think Canal Street has a possibility if it's done right. Limited. Flagler, I have a different concern about. So I'm willing, tonight I don't want to decide. I'm willing to entertain some additional thoughts from you. I'm more than happy to meet with you, give you my thoughts, maybe kind of massage this thing a little bit, see where we end up, and then determine whether or not I feel like we've come to a position where I can support it. So I give you that inch to get into, but
Do you want to hear from him? Go ahead. Do you have a quick comment?
Just
Yeah,
real quick,
sure.
I just wanted to clarify that we're not proposing for or against
Yeah.
the open consumption. We were just, whichever way
Yeah.
you all decide to go on it, we wanted to have a protection in place for the special event committee itself.
This is how it would work. If,
we understand.
Yeah.
We understand.
Okay.
This is us deciding, not you guys. But you're going to be the ones administering it.
Right.
So you're in it one way or the other. But yes, no, I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah. And I think just, let me just say real quick, we've used the term open carry and open container interchangeably. And to anybody that actually knows what open carry means, that may be very confusing. So open carry, very different. We're not talking about open carry. That's not something we legislate right here. This is purely open container, no firearms involved.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. A few of us did it. It was a few of us did it.
So where I agree with Commissioner McGurk in that I think that demographics are different between different areas of town. My only concern is if we do this, it's going to be a citywide ordinance or approval. And where do you discern one from the other? There were two events on Saturday. There was the home show on Canal Street and there was the Black Heritage Festival at Pettis Park. What happens if they both wanted to have open containers? I mean, it kind of stretches our police department thin. It stretches, the street department with the barricades and stuff. I just think that we're going to have, once we open this door, there are so many unintended consequences that are going to pop up that I just can't support it. I wish there was a way that we could do a trial, one or two, but everybody's going to be on good behavior the first couple times when they know it's on trial. So, I can't support the open container. I mean, we just recently passed an ordinance for no open containers. So, I'd hate to go back and say, but we'll make an exception here, but not there. And I just think it's bad business.
All right, so I can count. So clearly, I don't know that my opinion matters at this point, but I'm going to share it anyway. So I think a couple things to be clear. First of all, I can support it on a trial basis. So I wish I could get at least one other person to join Jason and I being willing to, at least try something. It was a pretty radical idea the first time we drove a car down a street full of horses, and then now here we are. So, I would think we should be willing to try it. I think some of the concerns. There's many other communities that look and feel a lot like ours that do this. So it's not like we're breaking new territory. We're not landing a human on Mars here. I mean, this is a routine occurrence across the nation and right here in our backyard. So, some of the concerns that were raised, the bring your own beer type situation, that's addressed. I mean, there's reasons for that. I mean, you have designated containers that are used, so they're not walking around with these giant cans or that kind of stuff, which, by the way, happens now. I mean, if you go to a Flagler event, I dare you, pick any random person's Yeti and taste it. I dare you. I guarantee you it's alcohol. So we're kind of kidding ourselves a little bit that this isn't happening right now every day. This, to me, gives us more controls. It gives us greater visibility on this. And it actually helps. You mentioned about we just passed this thing about no open containers. My discussions with city attorney, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it probably strengthens our hand a little bit to say, we allow it in these very, very designated places at these very designated times. It's not like Canal becomes a free-for-all 24/7, 365 open container. It's during a special event that has been approved by this board. It is allowed in this area. And if you're caught with one outside of that area, the same penalties apply that are in place right now if you're caught. But I think it actually helps us with that ordinance, is what I was told, and I'll let you speak to that when I finish here. So, I would like to see us at least give this a try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it creates a series of headaches, if our police department comes back and tells us it's the worst idea we ever came up with, and I frankly have no issues saying, this is, the precedent we've set is this is approved on Canal Street, and we're going to give it a year before we even think about it at any other venue or place, and probably never would consider it outside of, Canal and Flagler. I mean, the idea of having an event at, Pettis Park or Riverside Breeze Park or any other park, that's not the right venue. And again, you look at other cities, they don't do that either. I mean, Sanford doesn't do that. They have a very defined, distinct area they do it in. So, I think the hurdles are not unovercomable. I don't think we've maybe challenged ourselves enough. So I don't know if my impassioned plea changed anyone's mind, because as it is right now, I think the direction for staff is, I mean, you can add the box or not, but we're sending the message out pretty loud and clear to the people that'll fill out the application, hopefully on new software, that they don't need to bother checking that box. Don't even try, is what I've heard tonight from 3 of my colleagues. So
just make sure the software works.
yeah, call the building department first. Go ahead.
So on the software issue, the event has to be applied for 30 days before the event. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to track that with the software? If I go in there and just put the name of my event and don't fill out anything else, does my 30-day window start, or you've got a policy?
So the process would still be the same. The time frame, it would still have to meet the same time frame that you're speaking to. I'm actually in the process of looking at software to facilitate this. I have a demo set up Monday, and this was one of the questions I was going to speak to with the software company. Explain what we're looking for, explain, the flow it needs to go through. So in order to get to the next level of, approvals, it would still have to meet the certain criteria that you're outlining. So the process would remain the same, but it wouldn't be entertained if it was within the 30 days. Okay. To answer your question.
So I think just to put a button on this, I don't know if we have to approve this, some staff can do it to me, but it is out there. I mean, this is something that someone could ask for, so we probably should have, I think we should just address it. I mean, somewhere on the thing say, this is, these are generally not approved, but I don't know how you would do that, but I feel like we should just address it. I don't know. Commissioner Clooney.
No problem with the software. If you got money in your budget, go for it.
All right. I think, do you need anything else from that? Nope. All right. So that'll conclude 7A. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
So it's going to stay on the form then?
I mean, it's not on the form now. I just think we should address it on the form. I mean, I don't want people, if it's going to be a no every time, I don't want to be asked every time, I guess is my thought.
So my question would be, then the legal was, could we be specific, say 30-day Canal Street only and not run into any issues from a legal standpoint? Or can we be that specific? Because you were talking maybe just Canal Street only, you know, a year event or a trial event or.
So, to me, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we, we approve events. I mean, I could apply to shut down my street and host a fair on my street.
Right.
The commission may or may not approve that. My neighbors may or may not support it. So everything comes to us. I don't think we would have to write that as policy. That could just be, if we telegraph that position, we make it known to the business community, we're only, this is a trial basis on Canal Street. If you bring us an event application filled out to have an open container anywhere but Canal Street, it's going to be a no. And that would be a no for me as well. We could trial that. We don't have to put any of that. I mean, this is just us. This is where we want to. I don't think we have to layer any of that into this ordinance or make a motion. We just have to have this conversation as a body to figure out if it's worth anyone putting any more time and effort into it. Do you agree with any of that? Did I say anything wrong?
Yeah, so it's a discretionary approval. You could broadcast, like, we're only interested in trying this on Canal. You're not going to be legally obligated if you approve it on Canal and you don't approve it in Flagler. It's very different circumstances, different, levels of service needed there. So it would, in my opinion, it's would be fine to only allow it on Canal.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so that's item 7A. Item 7B was pulled for review on March 8th. We don't need to do anything on that one, right, Carrie? That's not illegal.
Nope, no issue
Okay,
there.
item 8A, we got to have the reading and then we're going to postpone, but I have one quick comment.
Ordinance number 5221, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach adopting the amended and restated interlocal service boundary agreement between City of New Smyrna Beach and the County of Volusia, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. I believe staff is requesting a continuance to March 22nd, 2022.
We have a motion to continue this to March 22nd, 2022.
So move.
Second.
Okay, just before we vote on that real quick, I think there's still opportunity. I know we're working through some issues. I've raised some issues with staff. I think there's some real opportunities that I would like to see us push back on in this one, particularly as it relates to opening up, giving more citizens the ability to voluntarily annex into the city. And I've made my feelings pretty clear on that. I actually had a conversation with some county folks today that went very well. I haven't even had a chance to talk to you about that. You can brief the rest of the commission, but we have a very positive relationship with the county. I want to continue that, but we can have a positive relationship and also work through some tough issues and come to terms that work for both parties. And I'm not there yet on this agreement because that other issue is just a pretty big issue for me. So I'd like to see us just really focus on that. You can talk to the rest of the commission, see where they're at on it, but I think we should be opening up the aperture on that to me. Okay. So
I'll reach out to them tomorrow and continue the discussion.
Okay.
And see if the county council has reached out to the management and go from there. Commissioner Colodi.
Well, I just want to echo the concerns of the mayor regarding the limits of the boundary and the roads we're taking over and not taking over. As was said at the county meeting today, they want to work well with us and cooperate. And I honestly don't see it at this point. It seems to be cooperating in the way they want to do it. And it should be a shared deal. And I can't support it the way it is right now. It does need to be looked at a little more.
Okay. All right, so we had a motion and a second. Again, that motion was just to continue this to March 22nd. We're not approving it tonight. That's to continue to March 22nd. City Clerk, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Next item, 8B. I'm sorry, that was a public hearing. Did anybody have any public comments on that item? All right, thank you. 8B, ordinance 422. Gary, if you would read this one.
Ordinance number 422, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, rezoning 106 plus or minus acres of land generally located in the northeast quadrant of the intersection of State Road 44 and I-95 from PUD Planned Unit Development to PUD Planned Unit Development Zoning District and approving the Advent Health New Smyrna Beach Planned Unit Development Master Development Agreement. Authorizing the mayor to execute the Advent Health New Smyrna Beach Planned Unit Development Master Development Agreement, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
All right, so how this is going to go, we're going to hear from the city first. I think Jeff's going to talk to us. Commissioner, if you have questions as he goes along, we'll just ask those questions as he goes. And then we'll hear from the applicant, and the same thing. If we have questions for them, we'll take that. And then it is a public hearing. We'll hear from the public after that. And then the commission will discuss it at that time. Hopefully all of our questions will have been answered by that time. So with that, Jeff.
Okay, thank you. This is creation of a new PUD, 106 acres out of an existing PUD, which is the Coastal Woods PUD. You're familiar with the Coastal Woods PUD. It's a little over 850 acres total. Goes from 44 at the south to Pioneer Trail at the north. It's split by the old FEC Railroad right away, 100 foot. That makes a north portion and a south portion. In this instance, we're only dealing with the south portion. The north portion is pretty much totally developed and approved and set. This won't impact that area at all. The south portion is a little under 200 acres, and it actually includes the part east of Sugar Mill Trail that's fronting 44, 15 acres there, that also is not part of this application. So basically, what we're dealing with is about 180 acres that is between 95 and Sugar Mill Drive, and fronting on 44 to the north is the old FEC Railroad right-of-way. Coastal Woods had previously submitted a commercial site plan that was approved. Basically, it was about 340,000 square feet of retail commercial space, a 98-room hotel, and various out parcels that weren't yet specified. That was all done around 2017 and actually platted into 3 separate tracts in that area, one of which is exclusively for stormwater use, part of the design for the Coastal Woods commercial. Advent Health, we've been dealing with them since before the pandemic when they indicated they wanted to see if they could create this new PUD in this area, and they were working with GeoSam. It's kind of a complicated formula for how they worked out the transfer of the development rights, the entitlements that were a part of that PUD, and it's based on trips. So there's a matrix that's generally used by traffic engineers for different types of land uses, how they convert one to the other, and the applicants have their own traffic consultant here to explain the complexities of that, if you want to get into it. But basically, it's Coastal Woods sold a lot of their entitlements within the property, along with the property. The 3 tracts that are there, Advent bought 2 of those, A and B, and they also bought a 25-acre portion known as the Rubin Tract that was never part of that subdivision. It was later added to Coastal Woods. And all those development rights within there. So they end up with about 106 acres. GeoSam retains about 80 acres. As part of the permitting for that, there is about 69 acres that's dedicated as conservation easement. The conservation easement area is within both what Advent bought and with what GeoSam retains. But it doesn't seem to be an issue. The St. John's, they don't care about ownership as much as the fact that it's dedicated and used for that, and that'll be preserved. So in terms of open space, There's really no difference. It met the open space requirement before. It will again because nothing is changing in terms of the conservation easement or the 13-acre stormwater area. What they are actually seeking was approved by the county and us with this assignment of title for those new uses. And that includes a 300-bed hospital, 30,000 square foot emergency department, about 140,000 square feet of medical offices. Those are non-ancillary to the hospital. 100-room hotel, 100-bed ALF, and about 40,000 square feet of retail uses, which also are non-ancillary to the hospital. As far as what was needed for the county to satisfy their impacts on the transportation system, GeoSam and Advent both had agreed with the county that they would widen Sugar Mill Drive for their frontage along here to 4 lanes, and that will, there's a commitment to do that prior to a CO for any building in the Advent PUD. The most significant deviation is the maximum building height. The existing PUD allows for a maximum height of 60 feet, and Advent will retain that 60-foot limit in most of the area, but they have a central zone where the hospital would be, and they're requesting a maximum building height of 135 feet. Some of that is actually dictated by state building codes for hospitals because they have to have so much ceiling height for each floor. So that is, again, the biggest deviation from for this request. GeoSam still retains some entitlements, but they will largely be transferred to the east parcel that they're developing. So we worked with them for a couple of years, and it's been a long process, but we've gotten it to this point, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Colodian, saw his hand.
What I believe is called Parcel 3, the Rubin Tract. Was there ever any development plans on that?
Yes, that was incorporated into the Coastal Woods PUD. And when that was done, there was actually an entitlement for 410,000 square feet of office space.
On that particular tract?
Well, it was transferred to be able to be throughout the entire PUD.
Prior to Coastal Woods purchasing that PUD, were there development plans for it?
No. It was incorporated into the PUD along with its development rights.
Basically, my concerns center on that particular tract and its use. So thank you for the information. I look forward to the presentation.
Okay.
And I'll have questions then.
Okay. Commissioner Sachs.
Yes, I believe, Jeff, you may have been present for the ex parte that we had with Advent Health.
Yes.
I don't know if you recall, I had requested a heavily landscaped campus with appropriate sized trees as to be conducive to good health in a holistic manner. And verbally they said, oh yes, it's a very good idea. We would like to do that. Can we insist or encourage and have them agree to not have everything just paved with parking spaces and have more green space on the campus?
You can certainly encourage that. As far as the specifics of what they'll be providing for landscaping, right now they've limited their plans in this document to what they're proposing on the frontages on 44 and Sugar Mill, and those are extensively landscaped. As far as the interior of the property, it really hasn't gotten to that level of detail.
Okay, but it's something that would be open for discussion, that
Right.
we can broach.
Certainly.
Okay.
I mean, we have basic minimum requirements in the land development regulations for so many trees per square feet,
Right.
percentage of parking lot areas, et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
Not at this time, Mayor.
All right, Jeff, don't go far.
Okay.
We'll hear from the applicant now.
Good evening.
Evening.
It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. My name is Boren Owen, 301 East Pine Street, Suite 1400, Orlando, here on behalf of Advent Health.
No relation, just so we're all clear.
We went through that before, but thank you, Mayor. It's a fine last name, by the way.
It is.
With me here tonight are Dr. Dennis Hernandez, the Chief Administrative Officer of Advent Health New Smyrna Beach, Kelsey Bauer, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Advent Health New Smyrna Beach, and the Advent Health Consultant Team, consisting of Adrian Downey-Jacks with Davis & Associates, our land use and landscape planners, John Townsend, the Director of Engineering with Donald W. McIntosh Associates, our civil engineers, and Joe Riverio, who worked with Tony Luke at LTAC, our traffic consultants. We very much appreciate the opportunity to discuss our project with you this evening that would bring a new Advent Health hospital facility to the city of New Smyrna Beach community. However, before I begin my presentation, Dr. Hernandez would like to spend a few minutes with you chatting about Advent Health. Dr. Hernandez, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Appreciate the opportunity to present to you all tonight. I would like to start by saying that we are honored to being part of this community. We're proud of the work that we have accomplished, but most importantly, we are very thankful for the support that we have received from the city, the district, and our local residents over the years. And thank you, Jeff, for taking me to the first slide here quickly. I will be brief. Just to give you a little bit of background, Advent Health originated back in 1908 as a very small healthcare facility in the Orlando area, at the time known as the Florida Sanitarium. And that was the brainchild of a physician by the name of Dr. W.K. Kellogg. You may be familiar with the Kellogg's cornflakes. It's from that family. And ever since, over the years, that single entity grew into what we now know as Advent Health, one of the largest healthcare systems really in the country, proudly serving multiple communities across many states that you see depicted here on this slide. Unfortunately, we don't see Florida, but we are there as well. And today we actually have the honor and the privilege to serve over 5 million patients on an annual basis and employ over 80,000 team members across throughout all our footprints. Forgot to turn this on. Quickly here. So as you recall, Advent Health, or Florida Hospital at the time, became part of this community in 2016. And it became the sixth hospital in what we call, or known as, the North Region, which is part of the Central Florida Division of Advent Health. And being part of this network has really facilitated caring for our patients in many ways. It's helped us also be able to better recruit physicians. It has provided us with more seamless access to services that we can't provide or don't provide at our local facility, and has helped us manage really capacity easier for interfacility transfers at times of crisis. Because, over the past 6 years, things have not all been, sunny. We've actually dealt with 2 hurricanes and then 2 years of COVID. But, we are thankful to our dedicated team of over 700 employees and obviously the support of the community. We've been able to weather all of that. Back in 2016, I'm not going to go through this because you know the history, but back in 2016 when we partnered with the district, our first order of business, aside from infusing some capital to help meet some needs from an infrastructure and equipment standpoint, our first order of business was to really continue the journey of improving the quality of care that was provided at this facility. And we have done a lot of work. I know you've heard, but I'm glad and really proud to say that we have achieved and maintained a leapfrog safety score of A. So a long road from where we started. Our mortality rates are actually below national averages. And we have, as far as a CMS star rating, which again measures us on multiple measures related to quality and safety and so forth, we have gone from a 1-star rating to a 3-star rating. Measurement periods are very long, but with the work that the team has been doing, we are very hopeful that in the near future we would actually get to a 4-star rating, which would put us at the top third of hospitals in the country. So we're very proud of that as well. The list on your right here is just some of the current services that we provide at the facility. And this slide at the bottom here is just to highlight really the fact that our commitment goes beyond the 4 walls of our hospital, that we are committed to also partner with the community, and this is just a sample of some of the programs and partnerships that we support and participate in. And lastly, our mission of extending the healing ministry of Christ. I mean, this is at the core of everything that we do at Advent Health, an intentional focus really on providing care in a manner that addresses every person as a whole, addressing the body, mind, and spirit. And it's our intent and our desire, with your support, to continue contributing to the well-being of this community for years to come. And with that, I'd just like to turn the time over to our consultants to really get into the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez.
So now I get to drive the technology. We are supportive of the city staff report and the conditions contained in it. We are here tonight seeking your approval of this, not only of the city staff report, but also your approval on second reading of the ordinance you unanimously approved at first reading this past January 25. This first slide contains an aerial map that shows the general location of our property just east of Interstate 95 on the north side of State Road 44 at its intersection with Sugar Mill Drive. Okay, so let's see now. It's jumping to, yes, come rescue me, please. Technology's great till it's not. Thank you. I prefer adult supervision. I appreciate that much. The second slide shows our total acreage, just over 106 acres. And you can see the boundaries and acreages of the 4 parcels we are proposing. Our primary development will be on parcel 1, east of the designated conservation area that is protected by a conservation easement granted to the St. Johns River Water Management District. The conservation area on parcel 1 is just under 20 acres, which is essentially the wooded area on the western side of parcel 1. No development will occur in this conservation area on any property that is subject to the conservation easement. Parcel 2 will be our stormwater pond, a stormwater drainage pond. I have another slide in a moment that'll show you how this is split up a bit differently, but this gives you the configuration of the parcels generally. Parcel 3, that is the Reuben parcel, Commissioner Colodi, that you were talking about a moment ago. This slide, let's see, it's not cooperating again, so am I promise I didn't do anything except push the button.
You may just use the mouse to just manually kind of line it up.
Let me do that? Okay.
Yeah. Because it's a PDF. It's not slides. It's PDF. So you're just really scrolling through.
Okay, then I can do that. I can, if I just. Cool. Okay. So this slide shows the commercial, retail, and office use entitlements and vehicle trips that we purchased with our property and that were assigned and transferred to us by GeoSam. Our development program has been prepared with these entitlements in mind, and we have not and will not exceed the vehicle trips beyond what was approved for the Coastal Woods project on our property. We have undertaken extensive analysis and calculations to convert the Coastal Woods land use entitlements into functionally equivalent medically related land uses and land use entitlements that will facilitate our project without increasing the external impacts of our project from what was previously approved for our property with the Coastal Woods project. Each of those uses has a specific traffic rate, a trip generation rate that is correlated by land use. We calculated what those rates were. We calculated the maximum trips available. We converted that to our medically related use with the trip generation rate there. There is no increase in trips. There is no increase in external impact of our project. Access points on Sugar Mill Drive and State Road 44 are not being relocated from this prior plan. Concerning Sugar Mill Drive, in order to vest our vehicle trips and entitlements, we have agreed with Volusia County and the city that we will undertake and pay for the widening of Sugar Mill Drive in accordance with all appropriate approvals and requirements. The road widening project will also include landscape buffers and gateway markers as required by the city's Activity Center Overlay District. We are committed to working with the city staff and the county staff to make sure access and maintenance of traffic are well thought out and friendly to others using Sugar Mill Drive during this road construction project. The widening of Sugar Mill Drive must be completed before the issuance by the city of the certificate of occupancy for the first building to be constructed in our project. Our agreements relative to the widening of Sugar Mill Drive are covered in detail in our master development agreement that is attached as an exhibit to the ordinance before you tonight. As an aside, since the time that we purchased our property, the utilities along Sugar Mill Drive have already been constructed and installed and approved and accepted by the Utilities Commission of the City of New Smyrna Beach. This slide outlines our overall development plan. As I said, our primary development will be on Parcel 1 in the areas shown. The land uses we are proposing are listed, and the proposed development items for each land use are depicted. Our estimated conceptual construction phasing plan that includes a projected timeline is included as an exhibit to our master development agreement that is attached to the ordinance before you tonight. The access points onto Sugar Mill Drive and State Road 44 are shown, as well as the traffic circulation and parking internal to our facilities. We will work with city staff to make sure there is emergency vehicle access to the apartment site to our north, since that project only has one entry point onto Sugar Mill Drive. Also depicted are the conservation area on Parcel 1 and the stormwater pond on Parcel 2. Any additional wetland impacts will meet the code criteria of the city, the St. Johns River Water Management District, and any other applicable requirements. We will design our drainage system properly and in compliance with all applicable codes and criteria. I'd like to talk for a moment now about timing and phasing. Ours is a journey of faith, faith in our mission of extending the healing ministry of Christ, one which we have embraced and endeavor to further. We are here tonight seeking your approval of our next step in that journey. We have worked diligently and steadfastly with an eye toward moving forward, the fulfillment of what we believe we have been inspired to do. That being, continuing our healing mission here with you and with our New Smyrna Beach community by bringing a new hospital and related medical facilities. The next step in our journey is for us to receive your approval tonight. We fully recognize that the agreements we reach with you and with the county have a shelf life. For us to succeed here, we have to secure or vest our entitlements. Tonight we seek your approval and the right to move forward. However, in order to vest those rights that we hope that you will approve tonight, we have to do what we say we will do. We have to do what we've agreed to do, and that is to complete the widening of Sugar Mill Drive. The county has already agreed, and with your approval tonight, you will be agreeing that once we complete this road widening project, our entire development program will be vested, provided we live up to the terms of our agreements as contained in the ordinance before you that includes our master development agreement. So while I cannot tonight provide you with a date certain of when we will start construction of our new hospital and medical facilities, I can tell you that your approval tonight will give us a quantum leap forward. Soon, very soon, we will be moving ahead with the Sugar Mill Drive road widening project, for as I have said, we are fully aware that that project must be accomplished for us to be able to achieve even the first new building of our planned medical facilities. We cannot and will not fail to accomplish this, because in our world, we call this a showstopper. And we have developed over time a severe allergy to showstoppers, and we address them and resolve them with the greatest vigor and intensity. With your approval tonight, we will have within our reach a viable path for relocating Advent Health New Smyrna Beach to this property. Without your approval tonight, this path does not exist. But with your approval, the miracle we seek moves forward. And yes, we do believe in miracles. And yes, we do believe we are led by one who has within his power the ability to grant miracles. And yes, we do believe that a part of our effort is for us to not get in the way of the miracle, but rather to do what we can to help the miracle occur. But back to the next step in our quest. With your approval tonight, our property will be properly positioned for the new hospital and medical facilities we propose. So soon, very soon, we will continue conversations with you and the hospital district relative to relocating our hospital, including what happens to the existing property once the new hospital and medical facilities are built and moved. We recognize the value of the community asset of our existing location, and we are fully committed to continuing and participating in conversations regarding that asset. We know that part of our relocation must include discussions and decisions with you about what happens to the property we will be leaving. This is and will be another step in our journey of faith to bring a new hospital and medical facilities to our property here. The results of these discussions will most certainly play a role in the timing of the construction of a new hospital to serve our community. While I cannot commit tonight, because so many things factor into determinations of timing, what comes first, phasing, and the like. I mean, here we are 2 years deep into a global pandemic that has stressed us all in so many ways, and as the largest healthcare provider in the area, we are, along with so many others, on the front line of this pandemic all the time. So while I cannot commit tonight, I can tell you that we will move ahead with diligence and in good faith. Please remember that we are not the typical developer who may believe that if you build it, they will come. Rather, we build it because the community is already here, and will continue to grow and need the services that we can provide. We will do what we can as we can, but please know we are highly motivated to do it as soon as we can. We see the need, and our healing mission inspires us to address the need of those who benefit from the services we offer. Mayor Owen, you have mentioned previously that Publix and Advent Health are the largest employers in the area. We fully expect that our new hospital and medical facilities will bring even more jobs, including many high-paying jobs. This will benefit our community not only with economic growth, but also with enhanced and expanded medical facilities that will be closer and more convenient to the people and community we serve. We are and will continue to be your partner, your community partner, by seeking the fulfillment of our healing mission and partnering with you in efforts to educate our community in health and in wellness. What we seek is not inexpensive, but we are willing to invest the significant funds needed. However, we must have your approval tonight to continue that effort. In our experience, the hospital and facilities we propose will cost more than several $100 million. But we make that investment willingly, not because we are profit motivated, for as you know, we are a not-for-profit organization with no shareholders or investors, but rather, we make that investment because we pursue our healing mission, the rewards of which are invaluable to us. To save a life, or to bring a life, or to heal a life, or to touch a life, or to help with the transition from this life, or to teach health and wellness. These are of utmost value to us. Not only do we bring to bear our exceptional health care services and facilities, we also bring a spiritual awareness and belief, the faith to know and understand and believe why we are here and where we are going. We are willing to hold the hand of those who need it and want it. We are willing to pray with you as we do our best for you, for we know that true healing touches both body and spirit. Please know that we will do what we say we will do. All you have to do to receive confirmation of this is to look at or visit any of our nearby facilities. Our mission is extending the healing ministry of Christ. As we pursue that mission, we raise our hands when asked, we stand up when needed, and we kneel often. This slide shows the almost 33 acres of open space on our property that includes the conservation area on parcel 1 and the stormwater pond on parcel 2. Also depicted is the more than 50 acres on property that we do not own, but that is also subject to the conservation easement previously granted to the St. Johns River Water Management District. The Water Management District permit previously granted to Coastal Woods has been split by the Water Management District between our property and the property to the north based on the acreage owned by each that is subject to the Water Management District's conservation easement. We are responsible for complying with all of the plans, terms, and conditions of the Water Management District permit for the life of our project on our property, just as the owner of the adjacent property, as the other party benefited by the Water Management District permit, is responsible for maintaining the portions of the conservation easement that encumber parts of their property. This slide depicts and highlights our access points onto Sugar Mill Drive and State Road 44, as well as depicts the type of buffers we will be installing along these roadways and the buffers along the property boundaries. And Commissioner Sachs, to your question, or your comment earlier, we will absolutely be open for discussions with you and with city staff and with whoever you may direct, because we are wanting to create a healing environment, and there's much more to a healing environment than having a medical facility where you can have medical care. It is to having a campus that is conducive to all of the things that you've described. So yes, We are open for discussion. We appreciate you encouraging a heavily landscaped campus. I think you'll find us a receptive and willing partner.
Thank you, John.
This slide has quite a bit of detail, but I've included it in the exhibits or in my presentation tonight because I want to show you that so you can have a perspective of the type of buffers that we'll be installing along Sugar Mill Drive and State Road 44 with 10-foot wide sidewalks, trees, shrubs, ground cover, landscaping, sod, and open areas. I got too excited about the button. This final slide depicts a few of our other nearby medical facilities that give a flavor of how we design our facilities to be unique to each location. Our goal is to provide a warm and welcoming environment that creates and furthers a healing atmosphere. Our master development agreement includes details concerning the architectural and design standards for our facility, and we are committed to working with the city in achieving our mutual design intent. We recognize the importance of being part of the community in look and feel. In our design efforts, words like timeless, complementary, compatible, sustainable, quality, upscale, forward-thinking, environmentally sound, and permanence are emblematic of our facilities. Our foremost goal is to create a medical facility of health, well-being, and healing that includes and is surrounded by a quiet, restorative, and peaceful environment. So here we are before you tonight, asking for your approval of an ordinance that will approve our collective next step forward in this, our journey of faith and healing. We respectfully request your approval. Thank you. Mayor, may I reserve a few minutes after public comment to respond to any questions or comments?
Sure, yeah. No, so we'll have, Commission may have some questions or comments for you, and then we'll have the public, and then you'll get a chance to respond to anything that comes out of public that you would need to, yes.
Thank you. Happy to answer any questions. We have a wide array of professionals
here.
here as well, so please.
All right. Questions for the applicant before we hear from the public? Commissioner Colodi.
Conceptual plan is very nice. I do like it. My concern is that at this point, we don't have site plan details, which is obvious. And based on my training, my background, I will have a lot of questions at that point. One of my concerns is that access to the property and the signage associated with it. However, my biggest concern deals with parcel 3. And obviously at this point, you don't have any plans shown. There was nothing done there. Just a note on the plan, which is medical wellness, public and private benefit use area, trailhead classroom facility, and on-site fill source.
Yes.
That is going to be something that I will be looking at very carefully.
Yes.
Without details, there's really no point in discussing it with your professionals at this point, but I will later. My concerns will center mainly on the effects on groundwater,
Yes.
both during and after construction. There are some wetlands on that property.
Yes.
And you are proposing to go through the conservation area. So those are where my concerns will lie. As to the rest of it, I really can't think of anything that would improve it. It's a very nice layout. I'm sure you'll come up with a good timetable for its development.
Yes.
But it's that back property that does concern me. It's got exposure to the highway, a certain amount, And it's really part of the entrance off the highway into New Smyrna Beach. Buffers along 44 are very nice, but most people are going to see, they're going to be approaching you from the north, and they're going to be looking out and seeing your nice big new building. And I want to make sure that's over the natural environment.
Yes.
So, fully support the PUD at this point, so I don't have any real questions.
Okay.
I'll save them for site plan. And one thing I will request is that whether it's supposed to or not by our ordinance, that it come back here for final site plan approval. So,
But I think we expect that, to be working with your staff.
I do too, so.
Well, good. I'm glad we have an agreement.
It's too big a project. I know we have certain things that go through that
Yes.
I wonder why they did myself, but that's one thing that I would ask for.
Okay.
Thank you.
May I respond?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you. Going through the conservation easement to get to tract 3 or parcel 3, there is a narrow, and it is too narrow for any type driveway, but it is a narrow area that's not included in the conservation easement to the water management district. And it goes from the east side of it's not shown, well, maybe it is shown there. Is that?
There's a
It's
little
shown
arrow.
by
yeah.
arrows. Yes.
So but it's not wide enough for a driveway, it's not wide enough for a road, it's more of a logging trail, but it's not included within the easement. So our expectation is, if we were to do anything to widen that, we need to go to the Water Management District and have it released from the existing conservation easement. No small task. We're not expecting to do that. As we've discussed with your staff, as we were going through this process, we became interested in the Reuben parcel because of the parcel 3, because of the entitlements that it enjoyed, because we don't have any intention of developing at the level of intensity that was attached to that property. We'll bring that to parcel 1, where our primary development will be. We became interested in that property as a site of fill for our site, understanding that there's a process to go through with the city and with the Water Management District and other permitting bodies before we can do that. To the extent that we do any development on parcel 3, it will not be expansive, it will not be extensive, it will be complementary of our healing environment. Commissioner, you'll have the opportunity to participate, obviously, and you'll have the opportunity to provide direction and guidance, and we welcome that as part of our site plan process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sachs, did I see you?
Yes, sir. You're still unsure as to what you will do with the current Advent Hospital?
Well, it's not ours to make that decision alone. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
As I indicated, there are more folks at the table with us to make that decision. We don't own the land. We don't own the facility. It's in the hospital district. We operate the hospital. We are committed to communicating with you, with the hospital district, to discuss what happens with that facility. So it would be inappropriate for us to say, oh, this is what should happen with it alone. We cannot do that. We would not do that. With your approval tonight, now we have, to use a sporting term, with your approval tonight, we now have skin in the game. Because now, if we are approved tonight, we have an option. We don't have an option now. As I indicated, there is no path forward for us without your approval tonight for this property. If you do not approve us tonight, we stay where we are. We hope that doesn't happen, but we stay where we are. But with your approval tonight, now we have taken the next step, and now we sit down with the city and say, city, you have approved us to go here. Let's talk about what happens at the existing facility. The same conversation with the district and the hospital district, because we are going through that now in the city of Apopka. A little different circumstances there because we actually own the land, but we relocated our hospital from where it was to a new facility. But we are involved in an extensive process with the city of Apopka and the local area, neighbors, community, to determine what happens to that existing facility and land. So we do have experience when we relocate as we're doing, but no, I don't have a timeline because it's not for us to set. I hope
Sure.
that answers your question.
It does. Quickly, any fill material required for raising the property will be extracted from an existing pond?
I don't think that pond will provide enough fill that we will need for parcel 1, which is what heightened our interest in parcel 3, which is back to Commissioner Colodi, that was his concern. So I don't think the pond, we will use fill from the pond, yes, on parcel 2 to create the pond, but it won't be enough.
So I can assume you won't be selling or removing fill from the site?
No, no.
To another site? No.
No, we're hoping we won't have to bring any in off-site. I mean, a win for our civil engineering team is if we can find enough on-site not to have to bring any in. And we're not selling it. But you're not in the market either, right?
No, sir. Thank you.
Somebody across the
Thank
street.
you.
Other questions?
Mr. Owen, thank you for your presentation. At this point, I don't have many issues with it. Echo some of the comments that Commissioner Colodi said. I'd like to take a peek at that site plan, the landscaping plan. I think I have communicated to you in the past the campus, the landscaping,
Yes.
caliper, the trees. You know, you guys have a lot of latitude. This is obviously not your typical development plan
Yes.
that we have to be particularly concerned about. So you have a lot of latitude here. We believe you're going to do a great project, but I would like a peek of that
Of course.
site plan before we fully
Yes.
approve it.
Well,
Thank
and thank you. I'm sorry, did I?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Our master development agreement includes a condition and an agreement that we've made to work with you and the city staff on the look, the feel, the aesthetics, the design. So you're in the game with us, and we are proud of that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hartman, any comments, questions?
I also want to thank you for your presentation. It was very thorough and moving at times. So I appreciate that. I understand your mission, and I certainly support it. As with everybody else, you know, it's kind of in the details. So when we get to that point, I may have some other questions, but I certainly can support it at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had just one question, or maybe a couple real quick, though. The helicopter pad, I noticed there's the helipad there, and obviously we've got residences behind that. Can you give any indication, I mean, I assume that's in kind of life and death situations is when that's put into use. At your other facilities in communities such as ours, is that every hour? Is that every
No.
day? Is that
No.
once a month? Like, how often is that kind of put into use?
It will be used as needed, but let me,
Yeah.
thank you for that question, Mayor. Let me just describe how our helicopters work. In the first place, we're not a trauma center,
Okay.
so we will not be receiving trauma victims that would be victims.
I know what you mean.
The right word.
Patients.
Patients, trauma patients who have had an injury that requires them to be airlifted to our facility.
Okay.
That may happen, but it is not, that would clearly be a life and death situation because frankly, as we sit here today, if it's you, your spouse, your loved one, your child, your daughter, you're going to want the helicopter. And so I get it, and you want it available, I get it, we get it. So we're not a trauma center. In the second place, our helicopter is used only for transport of patients between our facilities.
Okay.
And so we don't go pick up patients from an accident scene and bring them in. Now, it's not to say that the fire department won't bring someone to our facility via helicopter. We're not going to wave them off.
Right.
But that's not what it's for.
Okay.
On average, and this, I'm just going to give you just a wild estimate.
Yeah.
A couple of times a week,
Okay.
as we at full build out, when we're a 300-bed hospital.
Right.
Just correlating that with how we use other hospitals of similar size, like our Altamont campus.
Okay.
A couple of times a week, on average. But I will tell you, whenever a helicopter is used, it causes a softness in your heart because you realize that someone's on it that needs to be. Now, let me also tell you, though, Mayor and Commissioners, that our helicopter is strictly regulated by the FAA. There are flight guidelines and flight patterns and flight paths. We have not applied for any of those, but we will. That is a public process. The FAA will regulate that heavily. We will not be storing fuel on site.
Right.
And we always avoid neighborhoods, residential as we can.
Yeah, that was my, and again, I get it, it's life-saving situations, we all understand that, and I think even the residents would, but if we can avoid an issue, if we can have it where that flight path is not coming in, because not only would it be directly over, it would be a low approach,
Yes.
into and out of the helipad if it went kind of directly north off of kind of the location. So I'd say just something to keep your eye, we don't have to resolve tonight.
I understand.
Something to keep your eye on as we go through this process can, potentially mitigate some future things if we're able to do that. But I know there's
Yes.
a million factors and certainly wouldn't want to hold it up for that.
Thank
The cell tower, again, just something to keep our eye on the ball, where that goes on the site. I wouldn't want to see that bumped right back up next to that residential neighborhood. I think it should be put somewhere else on the site. So as you walk through that process, just keep that in mind. And then lastly, to echo what the others have said, they've talked about the campus. I'm really passionate about the building itself, and I shared this with you all. You read some of the words that I had given when I talked to you all. This will be the landmark. This will be a landmark building, not only in our entrance and our gateway, but really among our entire community. So I just, again, challenge you all, bring us your best, bring us something, those words you said, the timeless, I want something that we're going to be really, really proud of to drive by, to have people approach our community and drive by. But I have full confidence that you all will be able to.
Thank you. That's our commitment.
And just for clarity from, I guess, staff standpoint, so that will come back to us as part of the site plan. Like we can see renderings of that and be able to give kind of feedback on that. Is that?
I guess if the commission wishes to bring it back, it would come back.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
That's what we understand, yes.
Okay. Okay, so with that, I think that's everything we have for you at the moment. We'll move on. It's a public hearing, so we'll move on to the public. I think everyone.
Should I exit out of this?
You can just leave it up. It'll be fine.
Okay.
All right. I know there's numerous folks here. I think everyone who's ever stepped foot in Advent Hospital may be here. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of folks. So any members of the public wish to speak on behalf of this, we'll have 3 minutes. You're on the next item. No, I'm just kidding.
For the record, my name is Glenn Storch. I have been serving very proudly on the board of directors for the hospital for a number of years. And I have to tell you how proud I am of the fact of everything this hospital's done to create the great health experience they presently have, which, when they started was not very good. And so it's been an amazing journey. And this will be capping it all. And I want to talk about two things. One is need. The fact is, the present hospital, I don't know if you know this, but was probably built in the 50s, all right, 60, 70 years ago. It has long passed its serviceability. More importantly, with climate change, we are having repeated hurricane events. Every hurricane event that comes to this hospital requires us to move every single patient out of that hospital somewhere else. That can't go on. We've got to find another location. We've got to find and the time it takes, the time it takes to do this. We've got to start now to get to this point where we can do this. Secondly, I want to talk about good planning. There can be, I've looked around, there can be no better site for this hospital than this right here, at the corner of Interstate 95 and 4-lane Highway 44, which will in essence be the center of New Smyrna. And maybe when the hospital was built, the present hospital was built years ago, that was the center of New Smyrna. It's not now. It's moved west. This will be the center of New Smyrna, and it will be easy access with a 4-lane and with the interstates. And so this is an ideal location. It will be a gateway. The architecture is very important, as you can tell, to Advent. Every Advent facility I've ever dealt with has worked hard to work on the architecture and to make this something we can be proud of. I will tell you right now that I will do my part to make this something that the city will be proud of. So thank you for listening, and I know this has been a long experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Steve Harrell. I live at 2781 Letha Road in New Smyrna Beach. And this is a pretty exciting time. I'm former CEO of Burtfish Medical Center and former Chief Operating Officer of Advent Health in New Smyrna Beach. Currently here representing the Southeast Volusia Hospital District as their administrator. I've been doing that for a few months now, so I'm here to speak on a couple of points in their behalf. Number one is the district was well aware when we did the lease with Advent Health that at some point in time a new facility would be needed if they would continue to meet the needs of the healthcare needs of our community. And we've been in close touch with them. Dr. Hernandez reports regularly to the hospital district and on some of the advances that he talked about tonight and growth in our area. They also look for a strong partner that would grow and have the capacity to grow healthcare services in our community, which Advent Health has proven to do. Relative to the current building, we've already started some discussion with Advent Health about the future of that building and how that transition might take place. As Owen has predicted, only God in heaven knows when that time frame will exactly be, but we're committed to have that conversation along the way, and we've started that discussion now. So with that, the district is very much in favor of your approval of the PUD, and we think it's an exciting time for our city and our community, and we appreciate the fact that Advent Health has continued with their commitment that they've made to the district, to the city, and we promise also, as we look for the future of the existing building, to stay in touch with the city to make sure you're involved in that discussion. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. It's been a while since I've been commissioned. Rebecca Cruz, 2139 South Riverside Drive in Edgewater. I actually just recently sold my home on Saxon Drive, which I've lived for 24 years. So longer-term resident of New Smyrna, great community. I've been before your commission talking for SEVMTC, Volusia County site selectors, looking at what we called smart growth. Was in some workshops with Steve Harrell. So one of the things I'm really excited about is this project. Access to hospital, especially premium healthcare facilities for a community, is really important. When we talk about smart growth, we think about, I think in the presentation, 10 to 12 minutes between an emergency department. I don't know you personally, but I've had to have access to an emergency area, and 10 to 12 minutes seems like a long time. Advent Health in their journey has improved our current hospital. I have to say I was excited to see additional parking, because if you've had to go to the hospital for outpatient, it's very challenging to find parking around the area. Not only just an increased hospital, but the opportunity for medical facilities, premium medical facilities, and to expand what they would bring to our community. My background in the Chamber, SEVMTC, I'm currently serving on Edgewater Economic Advisory Board. When I talked if there was any concerns, one of the things Samantha Bergeron said, I hope I'm not saying anything outside, she said, I wish they'd come to Edgewater. So we're excited in the city of Edgewater to have a premium hospital like Advent Health. I've been a patient of Advent Health recently in Orlando. I was there just before the holidays, and I can say that what they bring to the full healing is important. I'm on my third year as a board member for Advent Health and really proud of that. Mr. Owen talked about Leapfrog, or maybe it was Dennis that talked about Leapfrog. I did some research as a board member, and only 33% of the hospitals that apply get a grade A, and they worked diligently and very hard in the community of New Smyrna Beach to get that. It's about prevention, it's about whole care, it's about making sure that they are providing the best care for our community. So I'm excited that we have an opportunity to have a second reading, and that it sounds like our city commission and mayor are excited about this. I agree with you. This is going to be the entrance to New Smyrna Beach, and most people, they probably don't even know about Daytona Beach as much as they do New Smyrna lately. We tend to be the destination for Orlando and the gateway to the beaches. So thank you for your time. I hope that this is something that we can pass, which I believe it will be, and it will be a project we'll all be proud of in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Any others for public participation? Mr. Herman, come on up.
Good evening, Randy Herman, 108 Esther Street. I was glad that the presenter said that one of the services are the final transition. As at my age, I'm aware that these are services that I may hopefully not too soon need. And along with most of the people that have spoken, this is an exciting plan. I have three things that I would like to just put out there. One theoretical, one philosophical, and one practical. The theoretical is, I noticed they're asking for a 7-story building. One of the things I find perplexing is more and more services seem to be outpatient. Almost everything that my cohort seem to be getting now is on an outpatient basis. And so I don't know why they feel they need a hospital that high and that big, but that is a theoretical question that I just wondered about, whether they really need to have a building of that height. The philosophical one is, our community is expanding and it is growing, and as Mr. Storch said, the center has moved west, but we're also getting a lot more diverse population. And philosophically, I have nothing against a Christian presentation, but we have a lot of people in our community, and we'll get more people in our community who are not Christian. And I would like somehow that to be incorporated in how they present themselves to our community. And last, the practical piece. Do we have the staff? This is going to be a long-term project, and we know how things slip through the cracks and details. And it's obvious that Advent is really working closely with the city. But I would urge the city to ensure we have a team that can ride this project out and really work in concert with Advent to get the best possible product. Thank you.
Okay. Any others for public participation? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion. If you want to respond to some of those comments, sure, go ahead. Yeah, this is your chance to respond.
I appreciate the comments that were made by the folks that are here this evening. I just wanted to address one of the comments made by Mr. Herman about the 7-story building. We're proposing a hospital of 300, up to 300 beds. And the way that our hospitals are designed, they need to be bigger because services are bigger, people are bigger, facilities are bigger. The floor-to-ceiling ratios and heights are very different. For a hospital, it's not the same as a commercial building. Hospitals, we run sometimes 15 to 20 feet height just because of all the things that happen within a hospital. Typically in a 7-story building, the bottom 2 floors are all the administrative and all those other things that happen. The top 5 floors are beds, and we typically build on a 40-bed plate. So a 7-story hospital typically holds 200 beds. Now, I know we're seeking more than that, but we're proposing a tower that could be 200 beds on our current model. Outpatient surgeries, outpatient services all occur. That's why we are seeking medical office support as well, and medical office land use as well. However, in our experience, the vertical integration of a large hospital is paramount to providing the care and services you need. A horizontal hospital would spread too much, and now you're having a golf cart to get from one place to the other. We've seen those don't work well, and they don't accomplish our needs. The vertical integration provides it all in one building, and candidly, to build a hospital of the size and scope and aesthetic that we are wanting for this New Smyrna Beach community, a 7-story hospital, a hospital tower is what fits that model. We're doing that in Apopka, we're doing that in Winter Garden, and we're hopeful to do it here as well.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for me? That was the one I wanted to respond to.
I think that's it for now.
Thank you.
Jeff, any final comments on the city side? Anything to clarify, questions, things you heard?
Just to clarify a couple issues with the concern about parcel 3. They are providing a 50-foot buffer along I-95 that is existing natural vegetation. Currently, in the previous Rubin PUD, only required a 15-foot buffer, and that didn't require it to be existing vegetation. It could have been cleared and been 20%, but we requested the 50 feet, and they agreed to provide that. The cell tower location, that is also limited to parcel 3, so that's about as isolated as you can be from existing residences.
Okay.
And parcel 3 also, it's a minor aspect, but there's an existing billboard in the northwest corner that is had been required to come out in 2024 and will remain so with this new PUD.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, we've heard from the city, we've heard from the applicant, heard from the public, and it is now our chance. The only thing, actually, Jeff, I'm sorry, before you ran away. Do we need to include anything about, I think everyone indicated they wanted the site plan to come back to us. They wanted to kind of get another bite at the apple. Do we need to clarify, or is that already baked into the language that we have in front of us?
Well, I think it would be best if there was language in there.
We'll just add it to the motion then. Okay.
It typically doesn't.
Okay.
There's a threshold now for what is required to go to P&Z, and I don't know if you want to use that same threshold.
I think we'll just make sure we're clear. I just wanted to make sure the motion maker, whoever that is, understands that if we wanted to come back to us, we got to make sure that's included. So, all right, thank you.
All right.
All right, gentlemen, what's your pleasure? Commissioner Clutie.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Nobody can hear you because that mic's not pointed at you.
Thank you. I'm ready to make a motion, but I do have a comment after the motion. My motion is we approve the PUD as submitted with one condition attached, that it come back for final site plan approval before this board.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Had a second from Commissioner McGurk. What's your comment? Go ahead.
Okay, well, I would just as soon have the vote on this, but I'll give you my comments. My comments center on the existing building, and I'm glad to hear there's been some negotiations on it, because that's very important to the vitality of Canal Street. Right now we have, in addition to the hospital itself, there's a whole plethora of medical support facilities around it, and I don't want to see them evacuating the area and heading west, so to speak. So hopefully in your discussions that you include, if you do decide to stay there and use that facility, that you include some type of emergency room facilities in it, as well as x-rays, so on and so forth. So the existing medical buildings there will tend to stay occupied and maintain the vitality of the area. That's my comment.
All right, any other comments on this before we vote? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I neglected and really forgot to ask the question, and hope it's not a stupid one, but prefer to ask anyway. Is Advent in a hospital taxing district? And if so, will possible hospital district taxes go up for the residents?
If you want to speak to that, go ahead. Yeah.
No.
No. Good. I like that. Thank you.
All right. Gentlemen, we had a motion, we had a second. City Clerk, if you call the roll.
Sure. Clarify who the second?
Commissioner McGurk.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Resounding yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's approved.
Congratulations.
5-0. We don't get a lot of applause, so that's
They weren't applauding us, Mayor.
it's kind of not. Yeah, I know. But we'll just take it. Like we were in the room. Like we'll claim it. Go ahead.
So if I may,
I think Commissioner
Just-
Hartman wants to say something real quick. Go ahead.
just kind of as a point of information, is when I moved to Florida, and I won't tell you when, I went to Florida Sanitarium when it had a big, huge wooden veranda on the front of it. And that was the ambulance or your drive-up was on this huge veranda with rocking chairs out front. So over my 43-year career in Orlando, I saw a lot of changes to that complex, and all of them have always been a positive manner. To your point about going vertical, I can remember having to navigate through the hospital sometimes with variation in floor heights, and you could only get to one section through one area. So I think what you've done now is truly an amazing job, and you've truly taken not only the patient but also your employees, your staff in consideration in that. So I commend you on that, and I look forward to hopefully seeing it completed one day.
We will. All right. Thank you all for being here. Feel free to step out if you would do so quietly, though. We're going to continue on if that's all right with you. No. Please feel free. Get some dinner. Think of us while you eat. That's all. Yeah. All right. We're going to continue on. Item 8C. It's ordinance number 5-22. Carrie, if you'd go ahead and read that one.
Ordinance number 522, an ordinance amending the City of New Smyrna Beach Comprehensive Plan, changing the future land use designation of 7 ± acres of property generally located east of Saxon Drive between State Road A1A 3rd Avenue and 7th Avenue from city commercial to city high-density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps, providing for public hearings, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
All right, same as the last one. We're going to hear from the city, we'll hear from the applicant, and then we'll hear from the public on this item. So first, Mr. Gove.
Yes, this is somewhat of a preliminary step to the following application, which is a little more complex. This is to change the commercial future land use that's existing now to high-density residential. The impact and density is none. They both allow the same maximum 12 residential units an acre. The one reason this was required is because the commercial future land use that's now on the property has a cap on the percentage of residential use of the property of 25%. And since they're proposing 100% residential and no commercial, it's appropriate to take this off so it'll be conforming with the future land use for the PUD rezoning that they're seeking.
Okay, any questions of staff? Seeing none, we'll hear from the applicant.
For the record, my name is Glenn Storch, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to do the presentation for the comp plan amendment and the zoning at the same time, because I think it makes sense since we're all pulling this together, especially with the covenants and everything else. Is that all right?
Yes, I'll read the ordinance for the rezoning, and Jeff, do you have additional presentation on that portion? Okay, ordinance number 622, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, amending the master development agreement for Haggai Camp Road Square to revise the list of permitted uses and other development standards for the remaining 7 ± acres of undeveloped property within the MDA, authorizing the mayor to execute the second amendment to the master development agreement for Haggai Camp Road Square, providing for a public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay. So just for clarity, for those that may be here for the first time on something like this, we have 2 items related to basically the same thing, 8C and 8D. So we're just going to talk through them at once. We will take separate votes and motions once we get to it. We're going to talk through them at once so that way it's just a much more efficient thing, and they are basically intertwined and inextricably interlinked. So, Jeff, anything to add on item 8D?
For the PUD?
Yes.
Yes. Well, basically, it's a significant change. This is the last phase of an existing PUD. There were 30 single-family lots that were permitted by the PUD that was established in 2011. Those are all along the 7th Avenue frontage, and on the west side of Saxon have all been platted, so that's essentially out of the whole formula for the PUD, although they do remain within the PUD boundaries and are regulated by that existing PUD.
Okay.
This is amendment that seeks to deal strictly with the remaining 7 acres, which is behind the public shopping center, fronting Saxon Drive, and behind those residences that are within the PUD that are on 7th Avenue, and other existing single-family residents that are on Southern Street to the east. The existing PUD allows for 16,000 square foot plus of office and retail, and 150 multifamily apartment units in a 5-story building. There's a significant change here to request a townhome development with none of the office or retail, and maximum of 83 townhouse units according to the density of what the property boundaries are. They're actually are agreeing to do a deed restriction to restrict it further to the 77 townhouse units that are shown on the proposed conceptual development plan. There's some complications with this, one of which is the location on Saxon Drive. That's a prescriptive rights right-of-way. According to the applicant's survey and what they say the county agrees with, the existing right-of-way is only the width of the road pavement. If you look at their survey, the asphalt bike path is actually within their property boundaries. And since it's a county road, we have no say in that. They've had extensive communications back and forth trying to find out that information and what improvements will be required. The previous plan showed 2 connections to Saxon, and that never seemed feasible, and the county said they won't allow that. So it's proposed as one single access to Saxon Drive, which may or may not require some kind of taper or turn lane, still to be determined by the county. There are buffers around the property that are essentially similar to what was on the previous plan. And we don't have any real issues with the plan. It's much more detailed than we typically see with a PUD conceptual plan. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad because it's sometimes too exact. And there may be some issues with the community at certain locations of certain facilities. Going through the planning board process, we addressed some of the issues, one of which is short-term rentals that's now added to the MDA specifically to prohibit that on the property. Specifically prohibit any kind of access to 7th Avenue through any of the lots there. And that's basically it. There's not, the planning board had expressed certain considerations that they would like to see in the future, but couldn't really apply. And they've made suggestions to the applicant, and they've addressed them to the point where, you know, they've made their intention known to try to satisfy those. But that's about it for the property. We recommend approval because of the significant decrease in density.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Yes.
Yes, Jeff, I have some old documents regarding this site. There's one line at the bottom of this document, and it says that the city will require an asphalt sidewalk that's existing there now. And you and I had a conversation regarding that. I was kind of honestly taken aback hearing that that is actually the property that's projected to be developed. So it kind of worries me that we will lose that sidewalk. But here it says, Regardless, city ordinance provisions, unless waived by the commission, require the sidewalk. That is on the west side. It says on the west side too, meaning also, and that is of Saxon. So we don't currently have a completed sidewalk on the west side, but there is an existing asphalt sidewalk, as we all know. It's our multi-use trail. Now, my assumption was right-of-way existed towards the center line of the road on the outside of the power poles that are there now. One would assume that there is some type of right-of-way. From what I hear from you, they own the sidewalk and we could possibly lose it. It's a tremendous asset. I can't understand why the property owner or the prospective property owner would want to take it away when it could provide bicycle and pedestrian access for them as well. Could we have that addressed and maybe get some assurance that that will remain? Historically, it's a means for people to get to work, to enjoy pleasure. I'd hate to lose that. I have a few other concerns, but that's one I hope that we can clear up and address.
Yeah, they do actually have a specific text in the MDA that specifies that the sidewalk will remain. It's been addressed in the two prior, the original MDA and then with the amendment. The one on the west side of Saxon, that would be extended and it should be continuous along the frontage of all those lots, but it's not being done at one time. It's being done with the construction on each lot, so that's addressed in the MDA. But this particular one along the frontage of this on the east side of Saxon, that was part of what I was explaining with the county. It's not a clear process with their property boundaries showing the existing walk entirely within their site. That is proposed to be remedied. First of all, the conceptual plan clearly shows a 12-foot wide pedestrian easement in which the walkway is expected to be situated. And then on page 8 of the MDA, the last line of paragraph A, they changed the language slightly, but only because they made reference to the city rather than the county. That says the owner shall, within an easement dedicated to the city, construct a sidewalk bike path on the east side of Saxon Drive from 7th Avenue north to the northern boundary of the project site on the east side of Saxon Drive. So that assures it will be there. We're not necessarily going to make them construct one if the existing one gets to remain in its place. But if it doesn't, if the county requires some kind of roadway paving for turn lanes or whatever, we still are assured that there will be this bike path somewhere adjacent to the east side of Saxon.
That's reassuring. In all honesty and candor, I have to express these feelings. A possible negative impact from a high-density development next to a residential neighborhood. There have been some concerns expressed by residents as to the possible negative impacts. And I already see Saxon Drive is very congested. How will this affect the new property? How will this affect the surrounding area? I can foresee problems, but nonetheless, I do support some type of building there. But then again, I look onto the property, and even with 77 townhomes, I wonder, do we have enough room, even just for the road, for fire trucks, for refuse waste trucks to get in there? It looks like they're going to take up all the land, and the buffers I would not want to see reduced. So if I could get those concessions, that would make for a better project and much more comfortable neighbors. There was one other issue that there was an enclosure for a waste bin that seemed to be very close to one of the new homes that was built there. And if we could get that changed, that would help a lot too.
So if I may, it's probably, might recommend we've heard from staff. If we don't have any questions or things to clarify, maybe we'll hear from the applicant and then we can bring up some of those. Because those
good
are
question
things
for Glenn,
that they'll
too.
have to talk through, so.
And the fire marshal did review the conceptual plan.
Yes.
Did not see any issues with the current access. The main reason we went to him was because we weren't sure if he would want to see a second emergency access to the property, which we knew couldn't be from Saxon and would have to be from 7th, and that was contrary to what some of the neighbors wanted to see.
Yes.
Ultimately, he decided he didn't need that second access and he would be okay with the single access on Saxon. So he's seen and reviewed the plan. As far as the particulars, that'll again probably come up with site plan if the radius needs to be widened or the roadway needs to be widened.
That's good. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. We'll hear from the applicant, and then we're going to hear from the public after that. So we got.
All right. For the record, my name is Glenn Storch, and I represent the applicant in this case. And I've got to start with a couple things. One, as you see, the name of the project is Oakweiler. That's based on two things. One is the number of oaks that are on the property that we've been working around to try and save. And secondly, it's a takeoff on the word Detweiler. This property's been the Detweiler family for years. And so that was an homage to that family. And so that's one of the reasons why we're trying to do this the right way. And I also want to start with how we got involved. As you know, this was a project that's been entitled for years, over 10 years. A 5-story apartment building, 16,000 square feet of a commercial and office. My clients do a lot of apartment buildings. And so that's one of the reasons why they came here, was because of the potential apartment buildings, because New Smyrna is such a hot market right now, especially for apartments. I mean, I'm sure you saw what happened with the Beacon. It basically just sold for $72 million, which is over $250,000 per apartment. That's an amazing thing when you're looking at this. And the tax revenues from that, of course, are amazing also. But in this particular case, it seemed like because of the topography, because of the way that the thing was going, because of what New Smyrna has done, that there was a potential for something else, something more upscale that would be appropriate for this particular site. So let's go ahead and start with the next one. I want to start with where we are. All right, you always start with what you're entitled to, what you can do. This area, this whole area here in red, was designated as commercial under your comp plan. All right, that's where you have all your commercial there. It went all the way down, including all those single-family lots that are presently there, single-family homes. That's all commercial. The single-family homes on 7th is commercial. And then, of course, the piece that we're talking about is right there between those single-family homes behind the Publix. And you understand, I mean, from a planning standpoint, major commercial like Publix, and then multifamily like an apartment complex, and then single-family is a good planning tool. We're just reducing it down a notch and reducing the density, reducing the height. So right now you are allowed this as far as what's going to be on there. Now, what we're proposing is our comp plan amendment is to remove the piece that's on the east side of Saxon from commercial and change that to high density to allow this, take away all the commercial uses. What it also does is allows for the city to now administratively take off the rest of the 10 acres from commercial. You're not going to have any objections at this point. That's what should be done. This should not be commercial at this point. There really should not be commercial along Saxon in this area. Next, please. All right, the zoning is different. The zoning is a PUD. It has a number of things provided for it, but it was basically requiring or allowing a 150-unit apartment building, 30 single-family homes, 16,000 square feet of commercial, including drive-through restaurants, by the way, which I don't think drive-through restaurants on Saxon is a good idea at this point with the traffic. The single-family areas have all been developed, and the only area that hasn't been developed is the area in red. Next, please. So that trapezoidal shape there is the area in red we're talking about. And you'll notice that that plan was for the apartment building at one point, if I remember correctly. So that was the five-story apartment building units plus the 16,000 square feet of businesses permitted right there. Next, please. This was the elevation for the apartment building that was provided as part of the PUD that is presently entitled on this site. So what we're asking for is to take this off and replace it with what we're asking for, which is the luxury townhouses. I got to tell you right now, and Justin will tell you as well, this is financially feasible. There is a need for apartments. There's a huge market for apartments, potentially on the beach side. This, what we're proposing, though, is we just believe is a better project and something that Justin and his team will be very proud of. I should also point out that when we're looking at this, you know, obviously this is one option. We've done concept plans on this and to make sure it's feasible. But we also worked and put together a focus group of local citizens who are dedicated to the preservation of natural resources. And we got their input as well as to how to do this the right way. It was one of my recommendations, to be honest with you, because this is such a sensitive area. And especially when people start hearing things like, oh my God, they're massively increasing density on Saxon, what are we gonna do? Well, you gotta understand what the context is and where you're starting from and then where you're going to and how you can do it the right way. Next, please. So, based on everything we learned, we looked at the idea of we had to change the comp plan designation because you can't do it as commercial, as Jeff has indicated. We removed the apartment building with 16,000 square feet of commercial. We cut density in half from 150 apartments to 77 upscale townhomes. That's listed in the PUD. It was one of the terms that we also clarified with the planning board. And on top of that, the planning board was concerned, well, what happens if you don't build this within the 5 years of the PUD? And you've got that high density residential in here. So what we've also done is we've agreed and worked with your city attorney to create a covenant. I mean, I can't restrict the hands of any future council or commission. But what we can do is we can put a covenant on the land that specifically restricts this to no more than 77 units. And we've agreed to do that. We reduced the height. As you indicated, this was a 5-story apartment building. We've reduced it to 2- and 3-story smaller buildings, as we'll show you, that are townhouse units that work within the trees. And we've agreed to place a provision in that indicates short-term rentals will not be permitted. And I do think this is sort of interesting because this is designed now, and I've got to tell you that Justin and his team have done a great job designing this. It's almost like a townhouse village enclave within the trees, I mean, away from Publix. You really can't tell what's going on here as you go in, and everything is internalized. All the parking is internalized, the clubhouse is internalized. Once you go inside, it will not be, it won't be like anything else. Next, please. So, I don't know if this has been cleared up, but as you probably know, one of the times at the last planning board hearing, we had a bunch of people who were just up in arms because things like this were out there saying, oh, they're going to increase densities tremendously. You're going to have 100 plus homes behind 7th, and you're going to have, and there's not going to be any parking for those homes, and they're going to be 3- and 4-story townhouses with 1 parking space each. You know, this is the sort of thing that we have to deal with. And of course, as you can imagine, when they hear this, people show up. They're not happy about that sort of thing, but it wasn't true. Obviously, we're reducing density from 150 to 77. If the density changes, it's not 100 homes. If the density, if the PUD is not amended, then you have 150 homes. If it is amended, you have 77. All the townhouses, most of the townhouses, especially the 3-story ones, have 2 garage units plus 2 parking spaces in front. So that's four parking spaces total for each of those units. even the small ones have at least 2 parking spaces. Plus, we've provided for visitor spaces, which we think is appropriate in a case like this. As you can imagine, removing commercial and reducing density actually reduces traffic. It does not increase traffic. That's just simple logic, although I do have Sam's last here tonight to tell you that this actually reduces traffic, not increases traffic. And again, when it says speak against a change, speaking against a change means you're speaking for the existing entitlement. And that existing entitlement is a 150-unit apartment complex plus commercial. Next, please. Again, this is upscale. This is not an apartment complex. This is not short-term rentals. This is something that people will be proud to live in, and they're going to be proud to live in an area in New Smyrna like this. And so these are some of the possible architectural styles. As you can imagine, the cost of construction has skyrocketed. But it's not just because of the cost of construction and supply things. It's also hurricane protection standards and everything else that will be required in a facility like this. So this was one style we were looking at. Let's go to the next one. This is another style we were looking at. This is, again, to show some of the two-car garages. Next, please. By the way, that was a 3-story. This is another 2-story. Let's go to the next. Just several of these, and I think we can just run through these. But it does show the architectural details and the sort of things we're looking for that will make this, we think, very special, a very special enclave in this small area. Next, please. Okay. On top of that, there are a number of amenities that are part of this site. There's a clubhouse, there's a pool, there's park areas, there's a dog walk. Obviously, there's shaded walkways throughout that we've encouraged because of the trees. There's a single entrance, and so this is important as well, because by having that single entrance on here, we have no driveways out into Saxon like all the single family on the other side of Saxon. I think this is better from a traffic standpoint, obviously, but this is also better because it allows us to then landscape underneath there. And although some of that may be utility easements, as you know, we can work out a deal with the Utilities Commission where they'll allow us to landscape as long as it's not trees that will damage their potential lines. Now, I got to talk to them about this because one of the things we're doing is we're actually taking the lines and putting them underground. So those lines will disappear from the visual aspect of this. They'll also, it'll also make it obviously more attractive, but it'll also make it safer from a hurricane standpoint. So we need to talk about to the Utilities Commission about what kind of trees they'll allow us to put there. But that's something we'll talk about. Next, please. Environmental standards. We've also done our best to incorporate some special environmental standards in here because, again, although the apartment complex had none of these standards, we believe we can do this and it'll also be marketable. So we're incorporating the National Green Building Standards or other similar green building standards and practices in this project. We have preserved a number of trees by tree wells because that's what we're going to do because of the differences in height, and we're trying to create some kind of mechanism to make sure those trees shall survive. We're also, by the way, our HOA will be in charge of maintaining these trees. They'll be specially cared for because we'll have an arborist because, again, the trees are part of the community. The trees are part of the marketing for the community. The trees are part of the value of the community. So we will have someone who will take care to make sure those trees are, in fact, given the best possible care. We're also encouraging the use of electric vehicles by the placement of electric outlets at each garage. We see that as the future, to be honest with you. And we'll minimize the need for water and landscaping and irrigation by the use of Florida-friendly and native plant materials throughout, and possible rain barrels for reuse. We're minimizing the use of grass, especially St. Augustine grass. We'll be using mulching, we'll be using palmettos, we'll be using other things that will incorporate within this natural system. And that's why it will look special getting in there. Next, please. Quality of life. As I say, in addition, we're going to have 20 visitor parking spaces so that people aren't fighting over parking spaces, which is always a pain when you're visiting someone. Drive areas, all drive areas within the village community are private, and they'll be maintained by the condominium or property owners association. No, nothing to you, but we have worked closely with the fire department and everyone else. By the way, I should point out, one of the reasons why you're seeing so many plans on this that you don't normally see on a PUD amendment is because they had to make sure that this was financially feasible to build in this manner. So they've worked out everything as far as the trees that are there, the specimen trees, the historic trees, all the things that we've been trying to fit to make sure we can get the 77 units in there and do this in a way where it's appropriate with the fire department and everyone else. And so it's when you incorporate all that green space and everything else, this is a tight site, but it's a well thought out site. And we're thinking out the site in advance. That's the important thing. We're not doing it afterwards, just with the concept. There's access to retail, as you know, that'll be very easy for people to walk over to Publix. At this point, we try to minimize traffic. Again, all the structures, trees, landscaping, and infrastructure shall be maintained by the condominium or property owner association. So it'll all be maintained in a very nice manner forever. Yes, next. Trash pickup and compacting. There was some concern expressed. We've met with a number of neighbors regarding the site, and there was some concerns expressed. We explained that this is not a dumpster. There were concerns regarding a dumpster near the 7th Avenue homes. We don't do dumpsters. The dumpster is what you have at Publix, and that's just basically a big metal container that opens, usually is left open, and they throw all the refuse and everything else in. Each of the individual homes will bring out their garbage in a roll-out garbage can. That will be collected on a weekly basis by one of our contractors. The contractor will then take that, and by the way, you asked about making sure that the garbage can be done and the refuse trucks can be done in the right way. This is how we plan for it. So we have a smaller truck who will be taking care of the garbage individually within the site. He will then take it to the sealed compactor and place it in the sealed compactor. The compactor will compact the garbage. Nothing goes out of that compactor, no liquids, nothing. And then someone will come on a regular basis and take the compacted garbage from that site once every so often, take that to the dump. That's how it is. You will not see anything, you won't smell anything. This is obviously next to one of our units, so it's important for us that this is done properly. The location for it was selected because, again, this is somewhat of a tight site. To put it next to Publix, we would lose trees, and we've tried to avoid that, worked hard to maintain those trees. I should also point out the trash compactor is buffered. The trash compactor, it's not a dumpster, but the trash compactor is actually buffered from the adjoining property by a masonry wall around it. It also has other effects, doesn't it? Yeah. Why don't you come up here for a second? And if you can swear him in.
Sure. You just have to give your name and address.
Good evening. Yeah, Justin Sand, Epic Residential, 359 Carolina Avenue, Winter Park, Florida. You put these conceptual plans out there at your own risk, as has been mentioned, and so we've drawn a lot of attention to some of the details that are preliminary, but were put forward so that you and us could understand what's happening here. The compactor is something that is needed to service a property of this size. It wasn't done intentionally to, create concerns by the neighbors. We, as Glenn said, have a lot of trees on this site. We have a lot of grade change. There's only so many places to put, these facilities, and so we thought that this hidden behind a 20-foot buffer and a masonry wall and some architectural features.
It's a 25-foot landscape buffer.
Yeah, 25-foot landscape buffer would, be more than adequate to shield that from anybody's view outside of the community. And I think it's worth, remembering that our residents are going to be impacted in just the same way that any neighbor would be, if not more so. And so, we consider all those things, and we have here as well.
And if you can explain how you're building the area around the.
Sure. And you guys may have seen these, so if I'm telling you things that you already know, forgive me, but, these are hidden behind 6-8 foot walls, depending on the size of the unit. They, in addition to the masonry, would be, treated with, whether it's stucco, stone, brick, some kind of architectural type application, a pergola over the top to conceal from view looking down, and then a nice, decorative gate feature on the front of it so that anybody driving through the community doesn't, find it to be an eyesore. So, we dress them up just like we do the buildings, and when you do that and then wrap it with landscaping and then a 25-foot, buffer, most of which is existing and very mature, I don't think that it's going to be noticeable except when you're looking at a plan view like you are here.
And you have developed a number of projects.
Yeah. To back up, Epic Residential's been around since 1970. We've operated communities like this, about 150,000 units large over that period of time. So we bring a lot of wealth of experience and best practice to each one of these. You always learn something, you try to carry that forward. As Glenn pointed out, how these are operated in today's times are through valet waste vendors. And what that means is, our residents have a service that comes, it could be as often as nightly or, every other day, with a dedicated container that they're provided. They put it out at certain times of the day. It's picked up and placed in the compactor by, a vendor that's paid, and there's some quality controls. And so, it's an orderly process. It's done in a professional manner. There's, scheduling around it. And then the compactor is serviced, as often as needed. If that's twice a week or more, that's what's scheduled. And so these things are maintained. They're designed to be sealed units, so, they don't become a nuisance. So, don't want to belabor the refuse, but...
Have you ever had a complaint recorded?
Yeah, so I don't live on property anymore, so it's good to check yourself. I surveyed some of our more seasoned managers and said, listen, we're getting some concerns from, prospective neighbors. How often do we hear about, how the maintenance of the trash? And they said, we get, complaints about a lot of things, but not this, So I do think we've been diligent about the placement and how we plan to maintain it going forward.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
Let me interrupt you.
No.
Ask a few questions about this dumpster. Obviously, I spoke to a woman who lives right behind it.
Right.
Approximately how close is this compactor going to be to the units that you're trying to sell, roughly?
To the units that we're selling, it's, how close is it?
Give me an
to that
idea.
first
Is
unit?
it 10 feet, 25 feet?
Right, less
Give
than
me an
that.
idea.
Yeah, 15 feet, I would say.
Okay. If I understand the location of the dumpster, ideally, when I look at the plan.
Not a dumpster, compactor.
Yeah, compactor.
There's a difference.
The location of the compactor ideally would be somewhere on the other corner towards where Publix is, ideally in terms of conceptually looking at it. You're saying that trying to save trees has affected that.
Yes.
So I go back to,
We actually looked at that.
so I go back to, you mentioned something about the Utilities Commission, and you're not quite sure what they're going to let you put in. Are the existing trees the ones that you're concerned about, or is it landscaping that affects negatively moving that dumpster over along that whole back line?
Yeah, if you look around the perimeter of the property, you'll see a retaining wall, and that retaining wall is, used to either hold up the grade or hold up the interior of the site so that we can maintain the maximum number of existing trees around the perimeter and as well as in the interior of the site. And so that's really where we started with this layout is we've got, so many trees, some are in poor health, some are in good health, some are, have to be saved, some are, somewhat discretionary. And it was, how do we, place these buildings around those trees and some of the challenges that we have with grade on this site to the best of our ability. And so everything sort of works backwards from there.
All right, so my thought is, I understand what you're saying. If this project is approved, what I would like to see done during the course of construction, if something comes up, and things usually do, if there's a circumstance that comes up related to a tree, it died, Utilities Commission has an issue, some kind of stormwater retention is getting in the way of something, if you have the ability to move that compactor anywhere between the other whole side of this project, I mean, you have basically two sides of the project that either go next to a street or the back alley of Publix. I would certainly like to see that considered, paid close attention to, if circumstances arise that allow that compactor to be changed to a better, more conducive location away from any homes along 7th.
Sure.
Or even that side street.
No,
wouldn't wanna
I
see
appreciate
it
that.
on the east side of that development either.
Yeah. No, you have our word that we'll continue to monitor for other more, favorable locations and try to plan it accordingly.
And again, but I will tell you that from what we've learned on these things, the lady who's concerned about this is concerned about the smells that emanate from a dumpster on the Publix. This is not a Publix dumpster, so that's...
I understand that.
Okay.
And this thing is going to operate at normal business hours, not on weekends and holidays?
Correct.
It's roughly 9 to 5 when people are working, not coming in on, sometime during the holidays or weekends when people are outside and they're going to have to deal with this being, it's 2 or 3 times during the week. I'm just not saying that it is, just, take this into consideration. It's going to be done during working hours. You contract out with with a company that obviously employs their people during Monday through Friday, let's say 9 to 5.
Yeah, I think what is true for our site is probably true, where you all live. I mean, it's a 9 to 5 kind of service, plus or minus, but it's not holidays, weekends, middle of the night. We're not running, like Glenn said, a Publix where we've got deliveries at odd hours. That's not our business. We're dealing with residents who are keeping the same schedule that most everybody else is.
And I think that the fact that you're talking about a residential project with this compactor next to it actually lends itself to not our usual situation where it's more of a commercial use and it's not going to affect the people in your development. So I think that lends to the idea that, this will not be something, we've had site plan where we understood something and now these development agreements that we've agreed to have had problems.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like, the concern is probably really our concern about being immediately adjacent to
I think
Publix.
your residents are going to have just as much of concern with this and a problem if the people on 7th as the people on 7th.
I agree.
Again, especially for the price they're paying. But yes, you've heard his commitment. If there's an opportunity to do something, we'll do that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Quick question, Glenn, and the applicant. How much noise and odor emanates from a device like this?
Yeah.
I know you can't quantify it, but is it something that's
we've done some
obtrusive?
research, and I will tell you that, no odor because it's sealed. That's the nice thing about it. But as far as noise,
These are, the containers are made of, heavy-duty steel. They're welded units. They're sold to be leak-free, smell-free, all of those sorts of things. Noise, there is an electric motor, but through, double pane insulated windows, you're not going to hear that. It's, again, had zero complaints as far as noise of a compactor.
Would it only be operated when trash is collected?
There's ways to program these things. It's, kind of used as needed. If you throw something large in there and it needs to be compacted after that use, then you can hit a button manually, but otherwise it's kind of set on a schedule.
Because it kind of throws it's a little strange for us because we're used to Waste Pro and a garbage truck coming and collecting in front of each residence. Can you speak to why you chose this sort of collection?
Well, because these are private streets, and so we don't have the ability to have rollout service. And frankly, I think it's a premium offering that we're providing to people that they don't have to take their own trash out. So I think it's a win-win for our folks. It's just our job to make sure that we, maintain and operate this in a way that's doesn't become an issue.
That's great. I've heard that win-win somewhere. I would appreciate if you did consider moving it to a site closer to Publix as well, since odor, noise, trucks does emanate from there. My major concern was any negative impacts to the community. I hope and I believe that you have the same feelings.
I think we're all aligned. We're not trying to do things that are going to hurt the reputation of the property.
You have some flexibility there.
And Jake, I think you can see how hard they've worked to try to mitigate any impacts to the community. So anyway, but yes, we will definitely look at that, and we'll continue to provide additional information to the residents regarding this. And obviously, we'll also give them our number if there's a concern, because we don't want any problems either.
Or if they want to live there, so we're not opposed to that either. So,
all right, thanks. All right, next, please. All right. This is one of the things we've talked about, a reduction in traffic. Now, the major reduction in traffic is by simply changing the comprehensive plan. And this is something that needs to be looked at, because by taking the commercial designation off this site, you have the potential of removing 18,000 possible trips. I mean, no one's going to build that potentially, probably not. But the fact is, with your comp plan designation the way it is, maximum construction on that commercial is allowed. That would be 18,000 trips. Now the zoning, just simply reducing the zoning and taking the apartments down from the townhome to the townhome village, that automatically reduces it by 274 daily trips. You add the 16,000 square foot of approved commercial on that site, and it reduces it by another 822 daily trips. So that means we're reducing this by well over 1,000 trips just by changing this use from the apartments and commercial to the townhouse units. Again, I should point out, I don't know how many people will actually live here, how many people will buy this as a second home. As you know, second homes don't generate as much traffic, but that's still, even if every one of these was occupied, that's a significant decrease in traffic. And again, I have Sans Laster from Laster, or from LTG, our traffic engineer, who will be glad to talk about any of this if you need him to. What's next? So traffic improvements. We know there will probably be traffic improvements required by the county. Our initial discussions, they want to make sure, that we have a single entrance, because they don't like the idea of multiple entrances. It hurts their traffic counts. We think for sure they're going to require a access taper, and they may also require a left turn lane.
Glenn,
Yes.
can I interject with a question?
Sure.
I'm sure you're aware that there may be some ISBA changes and that road will be
I am.
New Smyrna's.
I am. So we may be dealing with someone else soon.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and we'll look forward to that.
I hope so.
But the bottom line is traffic is traffic. It's a science. And so you have to figure out how to deal with that traffic, how to make it the safest possible to allow for people to use their property. And by the way, I should point out, although it has nothing to do with this particular project, when I was talking to the neighbors, they indicated they are concerned by the number of times they have to wait for the light at Saxon and 3rd. And so hopefully we'll be able to get some, I volunteered, not on his dime, to see if I can work with the county or whoever's going to be in charge of that area to see what options there might be. Because there's a couple of things you can probably do that may help that. And I'm already pumping sands to find out what those are. So, all right. The other thing is, although the original MDA did require and have an access off of 7th, we've removed that access off of 7th. And talking to the neighbors, they do not want any access whatsoever. And so we made it clear that that access is removed, even for construction. So there'll be no access whatsoever on 7th. Next. This is one of the very few contentions we have with the staff on this one. Staff has been great to work with. Staff has indicated they'd prefer to keep the existing 50-foot building setback that was in the existing PUD. Now, if you recall, that was a PUD for commercial and for this 5-story apartment building. So, I mean, understand why you'd want perhaps a 50-foot setback for something like that for stacking and everything else. But with the change, that 50-foot setback will basically destroy this project. It will destroy any chance for internal parking on this area, because we'd be pushing it all the way back, and any chance for individual driveways and garages. I'm sorry. So my concern is that it would in fact destroy the project. It would either take out that whole line of townhouses, or take out the parking for those townhouses and reduce their parking in half. Both of those are undesirable. And so what we proposed is for right now, we can provide a 42-foot setback, building setback. But if in the event the county or the city requires that left turn lane, it's going to push us back. And so if that's the case, then we would go no further than 28 feet. Now, the area over there, almost everyone has a 30-foot building setback. So ours would be comparable to what everyone else has already. But those 30-foot setbacks for the other homes in the PUD, those also have driveways on every single lot. And those driveways may be one of the reasons for that 30-foot setback as well. We're having no driveways whatsoever from those townhouse units. And what this allows us to do is to actually plant all that area under there to avoid driveways and to have plant material. So that's what we're asking for. No more than 28 feet, but we'll give you a 42-foot building setback, depending on what the traffic improvements might be required by the county or by the city if there's an interlocal agreement. Again, some of the other reasons why this is not appropriate, this is not a 5-story building anymore. There's no commercial uses allowed. The setbacks are about the same as the other areas. And again, pushing setback into the village would remove internal parking for the homes fronting Saxon. All right, next. This is the other one that we had a slight disagreement with. So as the previous one had a 25-foot landscape buffer. My understanding is that this was an R5, a typical multifamily or townhouse project. It would be 15, maybe 20, depending on which one it was. We have, if you'll see that little corner there, that little corner, southeast corner, is the only thing we're requesting a lesser than a 25-foot landscape buffer. Within the landscape buffer, we can have our retaining wall, but we'll still have a landscape buffer of 25 feet for the entirety of the existing homes. The area where that area is a vacant lot that is currently owned by the landowner, by Stuart Mitchell. And Stuart has no problem with this whatsoever. So what we'd ask for in that particular case is a 20-foot landscape buffer as opposed to a 25-foot. The rest of the area can be 25 feet. By the way, and again, that's consistent with the Land Development Code. So it's, by asking for the 25-foot landscape buffer, you're actually asking for more than the Land Development Code. Next. This was, I really did appreciate this. The Planning Board unanimously recommended approval on this one, even though there was a lot of opposition that had misunderstandings. They agreed, but we also agreed to several stipulations. One, we would put a maximum of 77 units. We'd put a covenant to reduce the site density to 77 units, which we have put into the MDA at this point, even if the townhouses are not built. No short-term rentals, no access to 7th Street, and the 20-foot building separation also applies to the clubhouse. Next. So that's it. The conclusion is that, New Smyrna has obviously changed in the last decade. We believe that although apartments would be very financially feasible, the city can support a luxury townhouse project like this in this location with less density. It's a better planning. It's half the density, reduces height, significantly less traffic, better environmental standards, significant investment in New Smyrna Beach, better aesthetics and design, and removes commercial for the area. And therefore, we request the approval of the comp plan amendment and the PUD. And obviously, we're available, and my entire team is available for any questions or comments.
Okay. For the sake of time, gentlemen, I'd propose, if everybody's okay with it, let's hear from the public, see what concerns come out of that, and then we'll come back to Glenn and he'll have a chance to respond to those and our questions at the same time. Probably makes sense. Yes, sir.
For allowing me.
Sure.
I hear the hometown news and it's not clear to me. Here's 150 units written, and I think I just saw 77 units. But no matter what, my concern is there's a cycle path and used by local people and by tourists. It's quite some cyclists are there beside walkers. My concern is that you have an exit and entrance way on section, and with 77 or 150 units, you get a few hundred people. So you get a lot of in and outgoing traffic, which is a danger, can be a danger for the cyclist, and they can be pushed to the main road. You see that now sometimes. And if you're on that location, you stay on the main road. So that's my, that's a concern. I didn't understand, the gentleman said it reduces traffic. That was, I think I saw that and I heard that. Mm-hmm. If you get 150 units, how can that reduce traffic? I can't put that together, but that's the way I see it. My other concern was, and I thought it was on the west side of section, this development. Luckily, so to say, it's on the south side. For the future, because I've seen, starting at CVS on the corner of 3rd Avenue, I've seen encroachment of houses more on the west side of section. How is that for the future? I hope that what we have there, which is still a kind of green corridor on one side, on 44 it disappeared, in my opinion, that we can save that. So it's from a different point of view, and I understand that we need houses here. So, but please balance those two things, balance them out, please.
Okay. And I'll let the applicant speak to some of the things, but maybe I can help provide some clarity with the article and what you heard today. So the 150 units you hear is what is approved today. So to do that doesn't require any approval. That would be what is approved on that site today is the 150 units plus some commercial development. What they're asking for is a change, but part of that is actually reducing it to 77 units and removing the commercial. So when they talk about reducing traffic, we're not talking about going from a green space. Obviously, you're going to add traffic because we're adding potentially, if approved, 77 units. But from what it could be, as it's planned right now, it could be 150 units plus some residential plus some commercial, which would mean a lot more traffic. So that's where they're saying the reduction of traffic. That's how they're getting to that reduction of traffic. I hope that makes sense.
Because commercial, to make business, you need quite some people coming. That means cars pulling in and out.
Yeah, because commercial is a much higher trip generator. Exactly, so especially like a drive-through restaurant is a much higher trip generator.
My concern is the safety of the cyclists and the more traffic. And I don't know if you can tell me what is going to happen more south of 8 on the west side of section. Is that a preserved nature reservation, or can we expect more houses there?
Yeah, that's not a part of this, but I can we can have somebody talk to you about that.
Or I can come to City Hall and...
Jake actually, he lives down in that area, and he can probably speak to that as well. Maybe if you can connect after the meeting, because I know a lot of that is a park.
Shall I come to City Hall because it's already late, and you know, it's for me even.
Yeah. Connect with Jake, and I think maybe you can help
Sir,
him.
my business card may be in the hallway. If it's not, I have a copy. I certainly don't mind giving you one. We can converse as long as you like.
Yeah.
As to
You have it
what-
here or at City Hall?
Anywhere, at home.
Okay.
At City Hall, there's
You're
one.
probably one of my neighbors, because I
Probably.
live on 8th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
it affects us all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
others? I'll let you respond to that in a minute. Any others for public participation? Yes, ma'am, come ahead. Hello. Yeah, you can, she'll pass them out for you.
You all have heard from me via email. My name is Stacy Eppinger.
Make sure to talk on that mic so they can hear you.
Pardon me?
Make sure to talk on that mic so
Okay.
everyone can hear
Usually
you.
I speak so loud, people are like, please quiet down. My name is Stacy Eppinger. I live at 792 East 7th Avenue. I've owned homes here since 2012. My first home was on East 10th. I always enjoyed walking up Saxton and enjoyed the walkway. I was lucky enough in 2016 to see a sign that had come up on 7th Avenue, and it was purely a picture, just a concept. I guess it had gone up on Monday. I saw it on Thursday. I was very excited, and we purchased that property from Brent Walters. At the time, and he had just purchased it from Stuart Mitchell. So at the time that we purchased our property, we knew that there was going to be some development behind us. So we knew going in, this is not going to be a forever situation. So we looked at the plan from 2008, and we're like, surely this is never going to go. What was in 2008, New Smyrna Beach didn't look anything like this. So we weren't very concerned. And then as we saw, Saxton be developed and, all these single-family homes, we kept thinking, okay, no problem. We knew that Brent Walters really wanted to buy the property. We thought that would be wonderful to have a cohesive neighborhood behind us. But with that being said, here we are today, right? So we've seen a couple of different proposals. We talked about the big one, and we talked about the 150, and now today we're talking about the 77 homes. So I understand you're voting on the new proposed plan. I understand the city is in favor of that project because it does offer a much less impactful situation to the area. But I don't understand, how the infrastructure is going to support this. I know that there are definitely studies that need to be made with the environmental impact and also the traffic impact and so forth. But I felt that it was very important to be here today before anything's done. We're all just looking at pictures. We're all just looking at plans. So I wanted to also, if you could put up, or not, but you've all seen the plan. On paper, it looks very benign, right? Here's a plan, and here's lot 27, and here's lot 26, and here's lot 11 and 12 and 13. Well, I happen to be lot 27. And lot 27 is directly behind the boutique compactor. And I guess there's a 25-foot buffer. Yay. Do they know how deep the back of my yard is? It's 30 feet. So that would mean that a trash compactor will be 55 feet from my bedroom window or the back of my house. And yes, I do have double pane windows, but I also have a beautiful outdoor space with a swimming pool, like many of you do probably, right? That's part of your home. So that place is a garbage garage, compactor garage, for 77 townhomes, trash, right behind my home. I can't tell you how upset I am. I know this isn't greatly going to impact the quality of my life, my home, and the future value. The smell, they've addressed that. The noise, they really haven't addressed it. 55 feet, I'm sitting in bed, there's the compactor. And a lot of times I enjoy working outside. I work from home. I enjoy working in my backyard. I'm not sure how that's going to affect it. So some of the pictures that you see here, there's a picture of the back wall of my house, and you can see, there's trees there. Basically, the biggest tree that you see is like 30 feet away, so you can get some perspective. The other thing that you'll see a picture from Saxon looking east, and you can see like where the back of lot 26 is. There's a telephone pole. So basically, that dumpster is going to be set back right behind that. Some other pictures you see of what does 7th Avenue look like, right? What do those lots look like, those benign lots look like? You'll see pictures of 7th Avenue. You'll also see pictures of the corner of 7th and Saxon. So essentially, you see a neighborhood that is part of this plan. So we know what the other side of the property looks like. You know what the plot plan looks like. Several of you, Jason, thank you, Jake, have spoke up. There's a large piece of property on the other side. Yes, there's some trees there. From what I gather, there is only one historic tree in that area. Everything else was negligible, whether it was, in bad shape or whatever. So I guess my question is, you know what the other side of the property looks like. It's dumpsters, it's so forth. My question is so benign. This is so enclosed area. Why can't it be put in the middle of the community? Why should the existing neighbors basically get a dumpster garbage area put in the middle of existing homes? To me, this plan is more worried about the future residents who haven't purchased anything yet than the existing residents. I think in closing, it needs to be revised. It doesn't make sense. It's a piece of property right now. You can make what you want. You are stewards of this area. There's a beautiful neighborhood. It's insanity. It's just insanity. The other situation, I don't understand, but these are not apartments. These are not townhomes. These are not, they are not condos. They're townhomes. Why can't they just have a trash can that they take out to the end of wherever they take it, and they hire a boutique or contractor trash collection company to pick up the trash and go take it to the dump, and put that as part of the homeowners and HOA. So that is my proposal, and I truly appreciate you all listening to me today, and you all were very good in my conversations with you. And again, this is just a piece of property right now. Let's make it the best it can be and respect the existing neighborhood. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn, I've got some pictures Kelly can give you so you can see what the one she handed to us if you need to see those. Any other members of the public wish to comment before the applicant replies? Any other members of the public? All right. Seeing none, does the applicant have any response? And then we'll go to commission comments for the applicant.
I want to just reiterate, we don't take those comments lightly. We're not trying to be bad neighbors from the get-go. We will strive through if we're lucky to advance tonight, we will strive to look at what can be done in terms of minimizing the hours of operation on the compactor. If we can, create a service that, would be new for us, but would, do what she describes and eliminate the compactor, and it can be just collected and taken away, we'll explore that. I can't stand here and commit to something I don't know if is available, but we'll try to, address the concerns as best we can. That said, we're buying or hope to buy this property and have evaluated it based on the codes that are in place today. And to my knowledge, I think that we've, taken into consideration all of those things, and I don't believe that there's a standard as far as how far from the property line you could place a compactor. I'm not saying that we won't try to meet or exceed, but we look at a site and we say, what can we do within the codes that govern, and that's what we've done. So it's not that we've intentionally gone out of our way to create a problem. It's there isn't a rule that we're not following here. So would like you to consider that, and we'll do our best to minimize the issue.
One quick question.
Do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I do. I want to first of all, obviously, the neighbors' concerns are very important. We're going to make sure that's not a problem for you, because that's your peace of mind. It's 55 feet away, but don't forget we're putting a $750,000 house 15 feet away. So we're very confident this will not cause any problems or noise during this period of time. And if we weren't, we wouldn't be doing that. But we'll continue to look at other options, and we'll be glad to work with you as well to make sure that we'll find some solutions. It may be some additional landscaping. I don't know what the real issue here is, but if it's noise, we can certainly look at the idea of finding time frames that are appropriate. The smell, I think we've dealt with very, very closely. Our goal, and I'm sure we can accomplish this, she will not know that we're there, is the bottom line. That's what's important to us.
Okay. Code enforcement and other things, have a way of dealing with issues that arise. So, we're not above the rules. We're not trying to skirt the concerns. We want to abide by them and again, try to be good neighbors. So that's what we're here to do.
Okay, go ahead.
Just one point of clarity on, do you have a private service that comes and picks up from the compactor, or is that like Waste Pro?
Well, generally if it's a private street, you're responsible, whether it's the city, if the city has its own waste collection. I don't know that New Smyrna Beach does. So if it's a franchise provider, then we would be working with them.
Okay, so
right.
So just so I understand how that works, you're going to have some kind of private collector on the property, put it in a compactor.
That's right, and then the
you'll
compactor would be pulled just like
a normal
Right.
dumpster trash would.
That's
So it kind of
right.
it sets in. Obviously the contraption has to. If you're telling me it's sealed, is it somehow there's latches? Waste Pro is going to come in, pull it out, dump it, slide this dumpster back into whatever
that's right.
container
Mhm.
it's supposed to be contained in.
Correct.
Just wanted that clarity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Understand.
Questions? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Glenn, I think during the P&Z meeting, they discussed the possibility that the northeast corner.
I'm sorry, the what?
During P&Z, they discussed at the northeast corner, there's a road that goes out, and wondered if you could make that a one-way exit out of that into the Publix. Did you guys look into that, or?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think it's the southeast corner.
Right. No, it's the northeast corner.
No.
It's northeast.
Southeast is where the.
Oh, yeah, okay. I guess we're talking about different issues that we've dealt with. So northeast into the Publix.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't explored that. I mean, that would require an easement, to be granted by Publix. I don't know how, willing they are to give those.
I will tell you, we did look at this. First of all, there's the issue of room for that access point. without hurting the trees at this point because we're running out of time,
Okay.
running out of room. But secondly, we decided that since you can go right out on the new sidewalk that we're putting in, there's the Publix, that may be a better approach for people to do this. And I do want to clarify one thing. The gentleman regarding the bike path, we're going to end up having to probably rebuild that entire bike path because when we put the utilities down underground, that will probably dig up the existing bike path. So we'll grant an easement, but we'll also be responsible for rebuilding that new bike path. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
I have other things, but just while the inspiration strikes me, I think one of his concerns on the biking was the ingress, egress, and the safety of like somebody's running their bike and then somebody's
Yes.
coming in and out. So we don't have to solve it tonight, but I do think let's address that. If it's not a gated facility, which you haven't indicated, but let's go ahead and put some kind of a speed table or something there to keep folks from just kind of whipping right in and out. Let's slow them down as they cross that because it is heavily used, I think, by the
We've
pedestrians in the
actually
area.
looked at that, and of course, the way the path will be, so that the bikes basically have priority.
Yeah,
going through there.
raise the bike path or
We'll
something
have
just
an
to.
internal stop bar, and I think, it would be probably good to have a stop bar on the sidewalk itself so that, everybody's looking. But I don't know the answer. We'll come up with the best solution and
Just know that I
and
think we
commit
need
that.
to do something
Yeah.
for pedestrian safety. We just don't want unbridled. So I'm going to come back, but any other comments, questions for the applicant? Carrie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to do this before you all get into your discussion. One of the P&Z comments was about no construction access on 7th. Any objection to broadening that language, no construction access or any other access
No.
from 7th?
No,
Okay.
we made that commitment.
And then just the other thing I want to make clear to the commission is the contract purchaser has committed to the restriction on the 77 units, but the property owner has not. So if for some reason the sale doesn't go through, you will have high-density residential land use with no restriction to the 77.
That's correct. We put a provision in that allows a certain time frame before we have to put that covenant in. We put the covenant in as soon as we take over, and we're closing fairly soon, right? If this goes through.
Carrie, walk me through what that would, in the event that it doesn't close, not indicating any bad faith. We got to play the what if game for a minute. What does that open up on the aperture that the 77 units becomes what?
Well, Mr. Gove testified that it was 83 units is
I
what
gotcha,
they're
okay.
able to, but anything else under that high-density residential that they could develop, they could. They could come back and ask for something consistent with high density.
But they would be coming back to this,
Before the
but
commission.
consistent with the high density.
Correct.
Yeah, it would
Okay.
take a rezoning. All right, it would take a rezoning, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So all
Okay.
we're doing is putting a covenant in
Yeah.
to restrict it to no more than 77 forever.
Okay, but that's a good call out, that is specific to the applicant, but doesn't apply to the land necessarily. Okay. Gentlemen, any questions for the applicant?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I'm very hopeful that you're a very responsible developer. There are more concerns than we've addressed tonight, and I'd like to just lay them on the table. The traffic, of course, on Saxon will be greatly increased. I'm afraid that people leaving your property, if developed, will be queuing up along with those sitting at the traffic light. We'll need some major improvement there. One of my major concerns is the loss of a green space. And so I hope that you will develop with that in mind. We could create another heat island. I'm sure you're aware of what heat islands are. And then there's the runoff. I understand from the description you'll retain stormwater on site, but I'm also fearful that the grade, I've seen examples from large to small when you do develop a property. Consequently, there is runoff somewhere, and we're so close to the Indian River there with only the houses and their runoff. Will we see Saxon flood, and will we see runoff into the Indian River? Those are real big concerns for me. I hope.
Have any.
Yeah, a little feedback on that.
Absolutely. For the record, my name is Ryan Renardo, civil engineer with Foresight Group. Address is 10150 Highland Manor Drive, Suite 210, Tampa, Florida. We have done some preliminary drainage analysis on this. We're fortunate to have great soil conditions here that percolate groundwater rapidly. So our system is going to be an underground system throughout the whole development. It's going to be designed to meet all the city requirements, all the St. Johns River Water Management District requirements. We are looking at likely having to do an off-site drainage pipe extension that was partially extended with the first part of the development. And once, if we're fortunate enough to move through with an approval tonight, we'll finalize the drainage analysis, and that'll be part of our final site plan package submittal to the city.
Will you be able to meet requirements for a Class 2 stormwater outfall?
I'm not familiar with that off the top of my head, sir. I mean,
Okay. We're just looking for better water quality coming off your project if it does overflow your system. So if you would get with our engineers, if it's something feasible, that would be exemplary, in all honesty. My only real request, you know, sometimes a negative impact to one is a negative impact to many in a neighborhood. We will see some impacts, of course. And I hope if you do develop, they're very minimal. But one major concession I would ask for you to make is to move that dumpster, because it does, it affects people on the outside. And it may affect people on the inside as well, but you're building a project. If there's negative impact or any impact, I think it should take place more on your property and not affect.
I'll just, I'm not sure what the solution is going to entail on our part, but for the sake of moving past this issue, we'll agree to move the dumpster to the northern property line and just put that to rest and
That's great.
deal with it. So.
Okay. Thanks for that concession.
You started talking about dumpsters.
Yeah, no, it's.
Should have started with that.
My fear is that, these things become cumulative. We've got the issue with the setback on Saxon. I don't know where we are with that, but that's detrimental. So they add up, and, this is a unique position. We're usually in a spot where we're trying to make a case to upzone. We're trying to make a case to downzone. And we've given a lot to get to this place, so we're just trying to be mindful of where we are.
No, I realize that and appreciate it. Though we are a residential small barrier island, I'm trying to resist us becoming Winter Park, which is not a bad place, but it's very, very large, different. And so with the least impact as possible, I would ask you to build.
And Jake, obviously, if we're able to reduce this density from what we've presently entitled to, that will help in that goal.
Would it be at all feasible, and I'll finish, to have the higher buildings towards the center of the property?
We actually looked at this. The only locations, the smaller, the two-story buildings are actually smaller buildings, smaller things, and the only places they would actually fit were over on that north side. The rest of them are all 3 stories.
They're on the north side.
Yeah.
The 2 stories on the north, yeah.
Oh, the 2 stories are on the north side?
2 stories on the north. What is that?
And where were the 3 stories would be?
All the rest are 3.
All the rest are 3.
Like we're hearing from the neighbor, our adjacency to Publix, we're trying to minimize that potential owner's view down on the roof or the dumpster, so.
Yeah.
No, I know we're piling constraints on you,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you have expensive homes that, most people don't want somebody else looking down into their yard, so.
They especially don't want to be looking over Publix if they can help it, so.
No, that's true. I agree with you there.
Commissioner Colodi, any questions, comments for the applicant?
No.
Okay.
We're talking about 8C. I'll have comments on 8D when we get the vote.
Okay.
When we
All
get
right.
the vote on that.
So it's a valid point. This is all, at this point, we are to 8C. The only thing I wanted to call out before we make a motion, so staff's recommendation is not congruous with basically the ask from the applicant.
Right.
And I think I caught the main difference being a change of setback overall from 42 to 28, but even that could change based on the turn lane.
it's-
I mean, sorry, 50 to 42, but
Right.
that could change
To 28.
to 28 based on the turn lane configuration. And then in that corner, the 20-foot change.
As opposed to staff's recommendation of 25.
So, but that's backing up to vacant land that presently is owned by the property owner, but is that going to stay with this project, or is that going to be?
No, so that's going to be a separate.
But you're just saying, basically, that whoever, at what point that is developed, they will go into it as a known quantity. That line is where it is. Okay. So I'd say we're to a point we got to make a decision on 8C at least. So we have, these items before us. I just ask the motion maker for clarity of, are you asking, are you approving what staff, do you have a comment? Did you want to make a comment? Go ahead. Close it out, Jeff. Sorry, I should have called you back up. My bad.
That's okay. As far as the south property line, the difference between the 20-foot that's requested and the 25 feet, and being that it's against the, contiguous to the current property owner's property, we don't really have any issue with that. The one on the west property line where it fronts Saxon, that's been an issue all along because, again, the front property line here is the edge of the existing pavement. That's where you would measure a 50-foot setback from. The bike path that's existing now is within that. We're also hearing that they may be proposing to eliminate the underground or the overhead power lines, place them underground. That would have to be in that same area and take out the existing vegetation. So if the county ultimately decides for an auxiliary lane and we have a combined buffer and setback of 28 feet, that 28 feet would include a relocated 8-foot bike path, and that would give you 20 foot for a buffer, which may also be a utility easement, which may be cleared for underground utilities. So we're not sure what the UC would allow for planting there. It's a big question mark because the county has not made determinations beyond where the prescriptive rights are.
So let me ask you if I can. So if the turn lane weren't on the table, walk me through the mechanics of that. So it would be at 42 feet, but on that includes an 8-foot path and potentially the utility easement.
Right. If we were assured that it would remain 42 feet, it wouldn't be that big of an issue.
Gotcha.
But, if the county decides a turn lane is justified, and why would we be against a turn lane? Because there's 77 homes there.
And is that a turn lane into and out of that property, or are you saying a turn lane that's kind of going all the way out? You're just saying for that property?
It would be exclusive to the property.
I got you.
And it would be a turn into the property, not an acceleration lane to get on the Saxon.
Yeah, for some reason, the county's taper that they're requesting is for northbound traffic to enter this development, which is probably going to be the least likely.
That's the weirdest requirement I can think of.
I mean,
I'm just honest.
God, I don't want to muddy this thing up, but I just don't see how a requirement for a turn lane for 77 units. I mean, it's actually not that much. You're not going to have that much, and you're already going slow because you're coming up to a congested area. So the turn lane to me would be overkill, considering, we're going to be limited on the trees that can be planted over the
certain, but I
utilities.
think their code calls for a left turn lane if there's 25 or more peak hour turns.
But that's not a left turn lane, that's a right turn
Yeah, we're talking about the right turn lane into the property, is that correct?
Oh, the right turn lane that they're, I'm not
So
sure
if we're talking
about.
left turn lane, they're talking about creating like a center turn lane, so they have to
Right.
shift the whole road to create a center turn lane to turn left
And
southbound
That
on
would have to
Saxon.
expand the roadway edge to
Yeah.
the east into the property.
So to me, the commission can deal with this in the motion, but at the 20 foot, I don't have any issue with. At the 42 foot, I think we're okay. To me, if it becomes that some kind of a turn lane is required, which we may be even the deciding body because we're in negotiations right now with the county to take over that road. if it becomes 28 feet, I think we have to revisit this and figure out where we're at. I don't know that I'm comfortable. There's too many unknowns on that. I don't even know where we're talking about, if it's northbound, southbound.
Yeah.
That's just a lot of variables. So I'd be comfortable stipulating to, this is just me, to the 42 from 50 with the concession that we're agreeing the dumpsters move, or the compactor, sorry.
And again, here's
So that's where I'm at, just for the commission's benefit.
Mayor, I respect that position. You'd like to have all the information before you're making a decision. You know, we've been
You're
at
talking
this
about
over
the
a year and a
property,
half.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of time left.
Yeah, yeah.
So we are on the clock. If I can clarify something that Jeff commented on, and we understand his position, you know, our understanding with the UC is that if we underground those lines, which we're doing so at our expense,
Right.
that we can co-locate the bike path in that UC
And the lines?
easement.
Okay.
And so we're not stacking all
So it's
these
not
things
additive.
and
Okay.
squeezing the landscape down to nothing. I do know that there are some landscape restrictions that, you know, would apply. But, you know, if this were a straight zone site that allowed for this project, you know, 25 feet would be the setback. And so
Yeah.
we're greater than that.
Yeah.
And we're doing some things that are,
Yeah.
And I was going to say, exactly, that even the PUD across the street, which is not required to donate any land for road improvements, theirs is 30 feet.
Yeah.
And so we're going to 28, which is about the same. And so that was our thought. I mean, the maximum 28. Maybe we can do it less, especially if you guys have it. Maybe we can work it out so it's a little less, but.
bear in mind, you know, it's
Sure.
it's really from our driveway to the north of the property. Everything to the south, I think, you know, we've got more room there.
Yeah. Who at the county would make that, who's making that decision?
It would be on Saxon.
Yeah.
Well, right
I'm like,
now,
what-
it's the county, but through the ISBA, if we take it over, then we have to make the decision.
But I'm saying, is it's literally like county commission, it goes to the county commission, or is it some?
Well, it goes through the county traffic engineer.
Yeah, it's a use permit.
Jeff Cheney? John Cheney?
No, probably.
He's retiring.
So, okay. I guess what I'm wondering is how much logic can be applied to that, or how much could we, you know, share our insights of, you know, whether that's really necessary or not?
And we would love that, as you can
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
To work with us.
I guess what we could do is we could discuss, excuse me, with the county traffic engineer and see what the issue is. And again, if it comes
Yeah.
back to us, then
Yeah. Which, I mean, in theory, by March 22nd, we could be first read, is that second reading? We're second reading. So in theory, it was March 22nd, we extended to, we'd have Saxon basically effective immediately, or is that not?
well, we still
Once
they
they
have to
approve
take
it.
it back to their county
Once
council.
they approve it, yeah, so it could be relatively quick. Commissioner Hartman?
But I mean, looking at the site plan or the drawings, you actually have more room on the north end of your property because Saxon actually bends off to the west.
I misspoke, I apologize.
Right, so I mean, so really the only impacted area is your driveway to 7th,
I think so.
where you may get that reduced
The pinch.
conceivably down to 28 feet at some point in
And again,
time.
we've tried to do it in such a way where we say,
Right.
you know, the maximum will be this. Well,
Which-
hopefully it'll be less than that. But even if it is, the fact that there's no driveways in there and that we can plant that material,
Yeah.
it'll look the same as across the street.
Which doesn't impact anybody who's currently living there. It's only going to impact your new residents who potentially would buy in that first building. They would have less of the buffer.
Yes.
Right.
Right. All right, gentlemen. In light of all that, I mean, again, we're judged on these based on what it is today. A lot of times the residents drive by and they judge it based on what it is today versus what it is. But I think it's important, as been called out, and we all understand, but we have to judge this based on, it could be this. You know, this is what is approved, and trust me, there's someone out there crunching the numbers on that probably as we speak versus what's before us today. And I have trouble saying that this is a drastic improvement. So, all right, do I have a motion on item 8C? Again, remembering all the nuances about that, and all that needs to be applied in this one as well, the setbacks and everything, or is that just 8D?
No, this is simply the comprehensive
That's what I
plan
thought, yeah.
change, legislative decision, your prerogative.
Okay. Item 8C, do I have a motion, gentlemen?
Motion to approve 8C.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. City Clerk, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Cloney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks,
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes. All right, item 8D, largely the same item, but this is the PUD. So Carrie, introduce this really quick. I know, not read it again, but just,
Right, so this is the MDA. These are the development standards that apply to this property. So the motion maker would need to include the items mentioned, expanding the no construction access to 7th to include any access on 7th. The stipulation that the dumpster would be moved to the northern property line. The contract purchaser, the stipulation is already in there. The setbacks from the 50 to the 42/28, depending on
I think
how
it's
we
already
write
built
that.
into MDA. You already got language for that.
Okay, and we already have language. This is as you propose the language. Okay, so it would be the MDA with the stipulation regarding the no access on 7th, the dumpster moving to the northern property line.
all right, Commissioner Clody, comment.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 622 with the conditions that were just stated by the attorney, and also the two requirements of staff, the 50-foot buffer and maintaining the 25-foot buffer in both areas. I have listened very carefully to the presentation. I haven't heard any expert testimony other from the attorney. I myself have any number of issues that will be addressed at the site plan. Those issues, obviously the dumpster that we've heard about quite a bit. There is a way to move it somewhere else.
I want to keep the motion really clear, though. Hang on.
That was, the motion was done, and then there was
I know,
a
let's
question.
see if we get a
Motions to improve,
Yeah,
and and
term stated,
the two conditions requested by our planning staff.
yes, the 50-foot. Yeah. I
Those
just wanted
two.
to pause there and see if we get a second on that motion.
Well, second for
Okay.
discussion.
All right, second for discussion. All right.
Okay,
And I have
I'll
to make one
continue.
more statement. or something.
No, I
Hang
would
on.
like to say the rest of my concerns first.
But I
We
have
got-
to withdraw a request for rezoning and comp plan amendment if that's the case, because we can't build it with that, and that's our problem. And
I still want those two conditions in there, and I'll continue. I haven't heard any expert testimony on that. This is, although it's a much better plan than the other plan for the apartments, without the expert testimony, I haven't heard about stormwater quality or quantity. I question the trash location, the retaining wall that's proposed at the edge of the buffer. I don't know how tall that is, and you're proposing to put buildings 3 feet separated from it. I need more information. Those can be addressed at the site plan review when you do have the expert testimony. So that's my motion, to approve it with the conditions listed by the attorney and the two recommendations of staff.
Okay.
All right, we had a motion, we had a second for
So
discussion.
my second was for discussion. I'm not going to support the motion if it effectively kills the project. I'll withdraw my second. I want to hear from the applicant because I can't ignore the quality of this project splitting hairs over a little bit of buffer. I think that the overall quality of the project that we get, the reduction in density is tremendous. Unfortunately, what we have here is a piece of city property on a county road, and we really don't know what the county's going to want to do. It's unfortunate, but I think that the quality of the project that is before us is something I think the city should not want to lose. I think it's a good quality project. I think it's a head and shoulders above what can go there. And I'm not going to split hairs over some minor details about a buffer and landscaping. I think that we can get past that. I can get past that. So with my discussion, I'm going to ask the applicant, at what point, the motion has the 50 and the 25. What does that have, if I understand correctly, that is the applicant's concern if those buffers cannot be met?
They cannot be met and still have the project. That's the problem.
So
And
what are the buffers that the applicant needs pertaining to the 50-foot buffer and then the 25-foot buffer?
It's as stated in the MDA, so 42 feet from the existing right-of-way today, or 28 feet from what we believe could be an added left turn lane into the property. So it kind of goes either way, you know?
A minimum of 28 if the county takes the land. A minimum of 42 if they don't.
Okay.
And again, I stress this over and over because every other setback is 30 feet, all up and
Yeah.
down there. Except for the ones next to 7th, which are 20
Okay.
feet, by the way.
So at this time, if the motion maker does not want to amend it, I will withdraw my second.
I will not amend.
All right, so we had a motion with all the terms with the 50-foot buffer, the 25-foot buffer. Do I have a second to that motion? Motion dies for lack of a second, sir. Do I have another motion on the table?
Make a motion to include no access on 7th, the dumpster, the compactor being moved to the northern end of the property, and the 40-foot setback if necessary, and the 28-foot setback if necessary if the left turn lane is required.
40.
Did I state that?
And there was
42.
also the 20 feet in lieu of the 25 that was recommended by staff as well.
In that corner.
Well, if it's in staff's report?
In the corner, yeah.
Is it?
Well, everything's in the MDA correctly, as we've got it.
Yep, the MDA as presented has the setbacks he requested, and also Mr. Gove testified at the end of the hearing that he no longer had an objection from the 25 to the 20.
Okay, then I'm just gonna make the motion to approve as staff requested.
The MDA
Yeah,
is.
and-
With no access to 7th, the dumpster to the northern property line, and with the MDA as drafted, other than those two amendments.
Okay, motion is to approve the MDA as drafted, no access on 7th, compactor to the northern end of the property. Does that cover it?
I don't believe so.
That includes all the P and Z things that were raised? There were some other things you read off at the very beginning. I thought I got them, the construction.
Yeah, I had already called out contract purchaser, that language already in there,
Okay, so
and the
that's all.
setbacks are as they requested.
Okay, so that's all good. All right, so I think that's the motion you're trying to make, if I know you're, based on what I know. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Could you clarify the motion, Vice Mayor?
Okay.
Just, my question is this, you
So
said
it's-
if needed, so how does that
No,
work?
it's not as needed. That my motion includes the dumpster being moved to the north.
Right.
No access on 7th.
Right.
And then as the MDA reads.
And just one other clarification, site plan back to city commission?
Would that be normally required in a case like this?
We would have to add language.
No, it would normally go to the planning board.
To P and Z, okay.
Will the motion maker add that to his request, that site plan
never
come
forgot
back
the
to this committee?
Are we negotiating?
Can I ask a point of clarification on the site plan? I mean,
You
No.
may, but hang on, I got like 3 unresolved issues here, so let me wind this up. Hang on a minute. Don't withdraw your, you're about to withdraw your second. Did you second that?
I seconded it.
Okay, all right. So Commissioner Sachs had a question about what was included. I think the clarity you were looking for was that the as needed was related specifically to this variable of the turn lane. So it's 42-foot buffer. If needed, if the turn lane is required by the county, or potentially it may be our decision, that would go to a 28-foot buffer. So that's the as needed language. Everything else is set. And that is actually as represented in the MDA. The other things, the no construction, the compactor move, all that that's finalized right now.
So my question is, as needed, if it is not needed, can it revert back to staff's recommendation?
No, if it's not needed, it goes to 42 foot, not 50 feet.
Yeah.
The staff did this, but staff didn't recommend 50 feet, did it?
Staff
Yes.
recommended 50.
Right.
Staff recommended 50.
We
The
can,
NDA
we
is
can
drawn at
provide 42.
Well, that's
unless-
what I mean.
Yeah.
But the
Unless
MDA,
the county requires the left turn lane.
So if it's not, if the turn lane isn't needed, it will revert to 42. It won't stay at 28 if the turn lane isn't needed.
Right.
I mean, that could not be any more crystal clear from tonight, so, all right.
And regardless, within that area, no matter what area it is, we're going to put your bike trail and the landscape
Yeah.
that we've talked about.
Okay, then Commissioner Colodi, you were asking something about, adding language about bringing the site plan back to P&Z. He was asking for that as an amendment, which you would also have to agree as a seconder.
Site
So-
plan back to this commission.
I'm sorry, I meant
So
commission.
he can make an amendment to the motion.
He could, and then we could vote on that amendment to the motion and then vote on the actual motion.
Right.
Or we could just see if we wanted to add it.
I
to
can
the
add, I can add, so I'm willing to make an amendment to my motion to bring it back before the commission, not before the P and Z. I don't want this to get bogged down.
Yeah.
I agree, and we'll stipulate that.
Okay, hang on. So, is that acceptable to the seconder?
My only concern is, what does that do to the timeline? Because I know he's under time restrictions, and if he can't get back till April before us with the site plan, or where does that put him time-wise?
Yeah, my ask would be, if I can, to understand the scope of that. Or is it to just confirm that, these stipulations have been met? Is it to enforce all of the land development codes that we're subject to?
A site plan review is to make sure that you're consistent with the comp plan, the zoning, the PUD, and the land development codes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, second to that, if we, are successful here with this motion, can we have the city's support to run the site plan process concurrent? Well, I take that back. Okay. So the process going forward would be site plan. Is there even a construction permit set that also has to go back before city council? So it's one review and we're done? Okay, all right, then I'm good.
And we'd have to do the review anyway before planning board. All of the-
Yeah, we're changing from P&Z to us is all we're doing. So, yeah. Okay.
Works for him.
Okay,
So,
yes.
so did you officially agree to that or not?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
My second stance,
All right.
as amended.
So we had a motion, we had a second. The motion included all the terms that were stipulated, the no construction, the moving of the compactor. The setbacks is outlined in the MDA, which was the 42-foot and the 20-foot in that one corner. And I think that was in site plan coming back to the city commission. Are you good with that? You two are good with that as
Represents my motion.
Okay. We had a motion, we had a second. Gentlemen, I propose we vote on that motion. Kelly, call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all, especially for the unanimous vote. That's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you all. Hey, we put you through a little bit here, but we appreciate you doing business in New Smyrna to the applicant. And I was just saying, I know we put you through a little bit here, but we appreciate you doing business in New Smyrna and have high confidence that you're going to do a good project that the community be proud of, minimize the impact to the residents. You can tell that's important to us. I get the impression it's important to you all as well. So we're happy to work with you. Yeah, all right.
So, just for the record, I live on a private street and the city's trash hauler picks up our trash.
You may be able to do it, maybe we contract for it, but typically we do it with a private contract.
Now he tells us.
I don't think this guy wants to hear
I
about
don't think
the
he wants to
trash.
hear the
This
word
guy's like,
compactor
dude, I don't want
again.
to talk about this trash anymore.
All right. Thank you all. All right. Sorry, I was trying to find something. Okay, gentlemen, I think that takes us all the way through. Oh, we got 8E, public hearing for the city zone redistricting. Gentlemen, we've talked about this excessively. I could give each of y'all speech for you at this point as you could mine. So I don't know that we need a much discussion. Let's see if the public has anything to say on this one. Any members of the public wish to talk about the redistricting? Lisa, are you coming forward or are you just moving around? Okay, all right, just checking. All right, we'll close the public hearing. Discussion by the commission. Do you need to say anything on this?
No, I was gonna just tell you, this is the 100th time that we brought this back, so.
I know.
I'm sorry, the 5th time.
I'm just waiting for the post that says we did it all in secret. the 48th time we've talked
But
about
it's,
this.
it's the formality of it, so.
100%.
The next
100% is
meeting.
the right thing to do.
The next meeting, the city attorney will have our first.
So the motion tonight,
Move to approve 8E.
is that sufficient? Do you need more direction on that?
80, directing the city attorney to move forward with the ordinance.
Motion to approve 8E, having the city attorney move forward with the ordinance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
City clerk, call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
No.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes, thank you. Item 10A, Turnbull Creek Land Preservation, City Clerk.
Yes, this board, the term expired February 1st, 2022. If you remember, Mr. Fields requested that we extend it for 6 months, then there was another extension. We're asking for another extension for 1 year since they still have ongoing business. The current members are interested in being reappointed.
Motion to approve.
That's a motion to approve the reappointment of all the current members. Do I have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, Commission reports.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I'm vice mayor again.
Yeah. You waiting on,
I'm waiting
waiting
for
on
it
Jake?
to come from down there. Anyway, I two things. First thing is, I did want to share with you, I did speak to the Canal Street Historic Group about some of the parking issue that came up. Wanted to let them know that I wanted them engaged in that, and also reached out to the Chamber of Commerce. I thought that it was important that before this thing comes back up, that the stakeholders, especially the Canal Street, the business owners and the property owners are aware, again, just part of our transparency and making sure we're not doing anything that is going to create an unintended consequence and surprise someone in the future. So had a good discussion, big turnout, and I think it went well. I also encourage them, I've been getting a lot of calls over the past couple months about the events on Canal Street. I know we've kicked this around a little bit, and I wanted to clarify to them, at least from my perspective, was, to get piecemealed individual calls kind of complaining, that's fine, always reach out to us. But I encourage that group, which seems to be getting more organized overall than, say, 10 years ago, when none of them got along at all, that they kind of, that it's better for them to get in this group. I talked to some people who had an issue with some of the events, and I said, well, are you talking to your Canal Street group? And, well, no, I didn't want to talk to them. They don't listen to me. So I simply at this meeting encouraged them that that it's best for us to gather thing out and then bring forward more cohesive ideas or comments that they can agree on and move forward to us, make it easier for us. I also said, if the city, I clarified, if the city is creating any events, I welcome them to come to the commission meeting, talk to us about what it is that we may be doing, because the perception by some of the business owners there is that we're creating all of the street closures and the events there. So I said that's not really the case, and how that works. Some of them are city sponsored, but feel free to certainly let us know what your thoughts are. I brought up the food trucks. We've talked about the food trucks. It was a idea thought of a long time ago, kind of archaic now. I don't think it really fits in. So I think I had a good communication session with them to kind of just feel free, don't let it simmer, don't let it boil over. Come talk to the commission, reach out to each of us individually about any of their concerns, and really get together with that group and see if you can resolve some of the issues without piecemealing everything. So I had a good discussion. Just want to let you all know, be aware that I had that discussion with them. I talked to them about it, and I think it went well. That's all.
So, in spite of the weather, I think that we had a very good showing for the images. Also, the Black Heritage Festival and the home show on Canal Street on Saturday. My hat's off, particularly to the two gentlemen in this room that spent time in the dunk tank at 45 degrees weather. So my hat's off to the both of you and those others who participated in that. I mean, if that doesn't show love for the community, I don't know what does. As you all know, I'm involved with the Affordable Housing Initiative with the county level. I've been assigned to the, I do this every time, Community Land Trust portion of that affinity group that deals with the Community Land Trust. Unfortunately, they put Chris Edwards and I both on that same committee, so we're also bound by sunshine. So if the two of us are in the same proximity, there may be an issue if I'm going to bring something forward that we've discussed in that meeting.
You're bound to sunshine by that board. Okay.
Yeah, so just as you know. And the county is moving forward with that. They're not going to create their own land trust. They're looking for an outside agency. Maybe they're doing an RFQ to see if there's already an existing land trust out there that would be particularly interested in coming to Volusia County and operating the land trust here. And this is strictly for affordable housing, either to vacant lots for affordable housing in perpetuity, or if cities in the county has property they want to sell and donate land to the land trust, then those are the items that are coming forth. I'll bring you some more information. We're meeting monthly at this time. And lastly, with the nor'easter that we had a couple months ago, and I think even before that, there was some damage to the dune system over by Esther Street Park, where it's actually breached the dune and could actually affect that volleyball area. And I'm not sure, it just came up, after yesterday. So I'm not sure if that's us or if that's the county.
Well, if it happened to where the volleyball court is, that's
Yeah.
us.
Okay. So that dune has a breach in it, and I'm just afraid coming into the storm season, if that's not repaired, funding's available, then we may have some issues, at the storm season. So
Thank you. I'll check with David tomorrow and I'll give you a report back.
thank you. That's it.
Mr. Clutie.
Affordable housing. I had requested the clerk's office, not the clerk's office, the attorney's office to obtain some guidelines on the affordable housing, which was done and it's been distributed to everybody. I'm asking that everybody pay some attention to that, and I would like to have that listed on a future agenda soon under item 7, so we can actually move forward with what we had started previously. It explains the entire process and what we have to do, but we have to decide which way to go forward. I appreciate the work that Commissioner Hartman's doing with the county on affordable housing. However, I think that we can move forward probably a little quicker just being one organization instead of the entire county. Second thing is I'm working with the Volusia League of Cities. I'm participating in a review of all their bylaws. The first meeting is next Tuesday, so being I couldn't talk to you previously, if anybody has any particular issues with the bylaws that they find to be problematic, let me know now, because I can't talk later.
Okay, so do you want to pause there and we'll just get, anybody have anything on the bylaws for the Volusia League of Cities to share? I know it's kind of coming out of. So they submitted a thing, y'all may have all been on it, I don't remember, but they submitted a thing if you're interested in serving on that. Actually, both he and I replied, noticed
Yes.
each other. We agreed with them, we didn't want to both be on it for sunshine purposes. So Commissioner Colodey's taking it. The only thing I was going to try to pursue on that is, I would like to see the current nomination process feels, I don't understand it. And it's probably, I could go look it up in the bylaws, but that's one of those things that I would like to maybe get involved, but I don't understand what the process is to get on the radar or how that goes. And using technology, I don't understand why we can't just kind of nominate from within the members. So I don't know, I just understanding how that process is and what changes could be made to encourage input and participation by new by new folks. So that's kind of my only thing that I can
Okay.
think of right now. If I think of others, I'll forward them to Carrie and she can pass them along.
I appreciate that, and I do have a copy of the bylaws that have been notated by them as to changes that they want to propose.
Okay.
And I can send that over to you, and you can just read it in secret, being we can't discuss it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this isn't going to be a one-meeting process, so
I'm sure, yeah. Okay.
it can continue. I also attended the Black Heritage Festival. I was on Canal Street, and I was also doing images, and they all went very well in spite of the weather. So it's good to see. That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gentlemen, most importantly, I'm looking for support to lower the speed limit on Saxon. Cars regularly drive 40, 45 miles an hour on Saxon on the straightaways. I had thought maybe some of the more constrained sections towards where they're going to develop, probably around 7th, are more dangerous, more constrained line of sight. I thought that should go to 30, but no, I think it's better that the whole stretch of Saxon go to 30 from 35. There's a lot of support for it. There's also support for a crosswalk near Publix coming from the west side. Since we're going to see much more development there, quite a bit more traffic, I think these improvements are warranted. So I hope I can get some support there. Maybe it's not time to make a motion now, but please keep it in mind. You know how I think we're all getting on board about traffic safety and trying to improve quality of life for people walking and biking and low-speed vehicles and all and such. Just a safer experience for everyone. I've asked Khalid for an additional crosswalk on the west end of Canal Street. I think is warranted. I've heard a lot of people complain that why don't we have a crosswalk? It's nice to see one on the east end, but I think one on the west side is warranted. I know we've all received letters from, I think, the realtors. I don't know what their association is called, but they're very concerned, as I am, about global sea rise and the diminution of the sea dunes, which Commissioner Hartman had mentioned. Actually, I've looked at the whole dune system, and for some strange reason, a small nor'easter actually sheared those dunes. And you're right, things that were once covered up are now reappearing. Old walkovers, wooden walkovers that were built with new ones, the old ones are now appearing. So that dune system is really getting damaged badly. And the realtors reasonably want to protect their property. But their whole mantra is, give us more sand and we want more seawalls. Well, we know that seawalls do more damage than good, because when the water comes up and slams on the seawall, it hurts the seawall, it hurts the adjoining dune system by flushing it out, and it hurts the dune behind the seawall. So the better approach, and I think we should all think about it and consider it, even though it's the county's beach, but it's our city's properties that are behind those dunes, like some of the condos. There are better approaches to revetment, and those are basically called riprap. I don't know if you're familiar with the term. It's basically piling up rocks like you see in Bethune. A more natural system. It's more resilient. It absorbs more of the energy. So I'm trying to propose that to them, trying to change minds. And seawalls are ugly anyway. and they cost a lot more than riprap. So I think if we went the natural way and tried to get the realtors and the property owners, Bill Rowe is one. I had a nice conversation with him last year. And he's afraid his properties are going to wash into the sea. And I understand that. But To cover everything with a seawall is just not proper. So I think a more natural way to go with riprap, basically big boulders. You can neutrify it with sand and have a natural dune system, re-nourish, that's the word I was looking for, re-nourish the dune system. But to just come back in and dredge, it could be washed away in a couple of days after a nor'easter, which I've witnessed myself. So with that in mind, global sea rise is really affecting us, and we see it in small ways. If you're there every day and you watch it carefully, you can see that the elevation of the beach head is lowered and the dunes have been sheared. That first dune system is gone. And I've heard people say, well, it'll come back. It takes a very long time for it to come back if it ever does. So I'll limit the rest of my comments because I could talk for a half hour. Thank you for your patience, guys.
All right. Colin, how much do you have? Do you have a bunch to cover or not much? Okay. In light of time, I'm going to forego my comments. I got a lot of stuff I could talk about, but I'll forego my comments other than say, again, hats off to Chief for participating. It was as cold as it looked. Thought about calling it a vice mayor favor that day, but
I can't stand the call.
My,
I would have never. My hat is off to both of you.
when I agreed, it was like 80 degrees, all right? It wasn't 50 degrees when I agreed. It's funny because as I was walking out the door, my wife said, we got 3 minutes on it. My wife, I was like, you can't question my love of the community. She goes, yeah, but I can question your sanity, which makes me not want to vote for you. I was like, well, you bring up a point. She said, people are going to think you're crazy. Like, they're not going to support you. All right, I'll forego my comments. City manager report.
You have the report. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Any questions? Seeing none. City clerk report.
Nope.
City attorney report.
One quick one. This came in after the agenda published, and they want us to do something before the next agenda. So you remember we had we signed on for the settlement for distributors in Johnson & Johnson and the opioid.
Yeah.
Another one's coming through for an opioid manufacturer, Endo Pharmaceuticals. And I'm just looking for authorization for Colin and I to take the next steps to sign on to that settlement.
Do you need verbal or you want a motion?
How about a quick motion?
Motion to authorize.
Motion to authorize.
Second.
City clerk.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
And Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, meeting is that it, Carrie? Yep. All right, meeting is adjourned just under the wire.